After Qi Zheng's death, I married his younger brother, Qi Rong. It took him a long time to make me fall in love with him. We shared decades of deep understanding and companionship, and our affection remained strong until his final days. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day I got engaged to his older brother. My phone screen was still lit up, showing a provocative message from the mistress Qi Zheng kept on the side. The next moment, Qi Zheng's knock came from outside the break room. Nian Nian, I might have to step out for a bit. I opened the door, not stopping him like I did in my past life. I just nodded with a faint smile. Go ahead, be careful. Qi Zheng stroked my cheek with a look of guilt. I'll be back as soon as I can. I subtly turned my head to avoid his touch. As my gaze shifted, I suddenly met a pair of familiar eyes. My husband from my past life, and also the younger brother of my current fiancé, Qi Rong, was standing at the corner of the hallway, his gaze dark and fixed on his brother's hand. Qi Zheng's phone rang again. He frowned as he answered, muttered wait for me, and turned to stride away. The hallway fell quiet. I leaned against the doorframe, fiddling with my phone. The next instant, my hand was empty as an arm wrapped around my waist. I yielded to his pull and was led into the break room. Qi Rong buried his face in the crook of my neck, his voice tinged with grievance. Darling. Wanting to tease him, I suppressed a laugh and pushed against him with both hands and feet. Qi Rong, what are you doing? I'm your brother's fiancé. Qi Rong froze, looking up at me with an accusatory gaze. You're not even engaged yet. Besides, honey, stop pretending. I know you've come back too. In our past life, you didn't let my brother leave. I couldn't help but laugh. He was still so childish. She gave him a smacking kiss. So, how should we live this life? 2. I grew up with the Qi brothers, Zheng and Rong. When they were 10, their parents divorced. Qi Zheng stayed in China with his father, while Qi Rong went abroad to live with their mother. So, strictly speaking, I grew up with Qi Zheng. Our families have been close friends for generations. Seeing how well Qi Zheng and I got along, and to strengthen the ties between our families, the elders decided we should get engaged. In my past life, I received an anonymous text message just before the engagement party began. That's when I found out Qi Zheng had been keeping a young starlet named Su Ning. Qi Zheng came to me saying he had urgent business to attend to and promised he'd be back soon. Suppressing all my emotions, I calmly explained to him that this marriage alliance was, on the surface, a binding agreement between our two families. If the engagement doesn't go smoothly, there will be many negative repercussions. Qi Zheng fell silent for a long while, but in the end, he took my advice and did not leave the banquet hall. Everything was going smoothly. However, at the very end of the engagement ceremony, just as Qi Zheng was about to slip the ring onto my finger, his assistant rushed into the venue waving his phone. He shouted up at Qi Zheng on the stage, "Ms. Su is in trouble. She's live streaming from the rooftop." In the live stream, Su Ning, wearing the same gown as mine, sat on the edge of the rooftop, smiling as she dialed the phone over and over. The viewer count had already skyrocketed to over 100,000. Qi Zheng froze for a few seconds, then quickly pulled out his phone. From my vantage point, I could clearly see him removing Su Ning from the blacklist. The very next second, his phone began to ring. Su Ning's voice came through the live stream at the same moment. "I'm on the rooftop of your engagement hotel. Come here now, or you'll never see me again." Qi Zheng's hand gripping the phone showed bulging veins, his voice trembling slightly as he said, "Wait for me." With that, he strode out of the banquet hall. I was left standing alone on the stage, the engagement ring lying at my feet. My parents' faces were ashen. Ignoring the Qi family's apologies, they tried to pull me away from where I stood frozen. I could only stare blankly at that ring, and the emotions I had suppressed for hours came crashing down. In our senior year of high school, Qi Zheng and I became a couple amidst the playful teasing of our classmates. He was a true gentleman, courteous and respectful. Even after we started dating, he never overstepped his bounds. Throughout our 4 years of university, we were both busy with our own majors. Even if we could only meet on weekends, and even if our conversations were just about coursework or family business, I was perfectly happy. I excelled at everything, striving to stand by his side. Yet, I had no idea when he had met Su Ning. It wasn't until the morning of our engagement that Su Ning sent me a flood of messages, as if she were having an emotional breakdown. Only then did I learn that he had actually opened a studio for Su Ning all those years ago. Right after he graduated and took over the family business, Su Ning sent me a bunch of photos. There's one of them sitting by the roadside eating ice cream like a couple of kids, another from their trip to an amusement park abroad, both wearing silly animal headbands, and one where they're lying in bed, with Su Ning stealing a kiss from a sleeping Qi Zheng. Su Ning said that Qi Zheng is only his true self when he's with her, but with me, it's only duty and self-interest. Even if he were to get engaged or married to me, he would forever be an empty shell by my side. 3. With mechanical steps, I was pulled along by my mother as we headed outside. Just outside the gate, a heavy object fell before my eyes. Then, the world before me was instantly stained a bloody red. The screams around me were gradually drowned out by a ringing in my ears. I looked down at my white gown and my hands, now splattered with great swathes of blood. It was Qijing and Suning who had fallen. They had been struggling on the rooftop. Someone must have stepped on the gown's skirt, and they both plummeted. I was just one step too late. One more step, and I would have died with them in that farce. I never got the chance to confront Qijing, nor the chance to resent him. Over 20 years of feelings just came to such a hasty, pitiful end. I blacked out, and when I came to, 3 days had already passed. My mother, keeping vigil by my bedside, her hair half turned to silver. That livestream by Suning utterly destroyed our family. Before she died, she said to the livestream, I was the one who came first. She had been sponsored by Qijing since middle school and had quietly stood by his side all these years. I was the other woman who tore them apart, using my family's influence to force Qijing into marrying me. Later, Qijing truly abandoned me to find her on the rooftop, making everyone believe Suning's words. After their deaths, they were immortalized as the modern De Liang Shanbua and Zhuing Tai, and I became the utterly despicable villainess. The network was down all day, and negative news about our Shin group was everywhere. Posts full of rumors and conspiracy theories were impossible to delete fast enough. Our clarifications got no views and were quickly reported and taken down. Shin group employees have been resigning one after another in just 3 days. The stock price kept plummeting, and my father was even taken away by the police for questioning. Someone leaked my hospital location, and soon my room's doorway was piled high with all sorts of disgusting packages. Downstairs, Suning's fans even showed up with banners demanding I pay with my life. The Qi family, to distance themselves, stayed completely silent. Only a small force had been consistently working to clear my name, helping our family remove negative trending topics. I later found out it was Qijing's younger brother, Qi Rong, who was helping me, but Qi Rong's voice was quickly suppressed. After careful deliberation, the Qi patriarch abandoned our family, posed as a victim, and collaborated with other families to steer public opinion, ultimately annexing the Shin group. I was diagnosed with a severe mental illness, and despite moving between several hospitals, I could never find peace to accept treatment. That's when Qi Rong appeared. He gave up his chance to replace his brother as the heir to the Qi family and took my family out of the country. We spent the rest of our lives living under assumed names in a small European town. That first year, I couldn't sleep a wink. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the mangled, unrecognizable bodies of Suning and Qijing. For years afterward, I kept wondering, what if I hadn't stopped Qijing before the engagement party began? Then maybe Suning wouldn't have lost her mind and livestreamed her suicide. Maybe none of this would have ever happened. But Qi Rong kept telling me, over and over, that it wasn't my fault. He taught himself psychology and became my personal therapist. He said he was atoning for his sins. No matter how hysterically I hit and cursed at him during my episodes, he would always hold me tight and soothe me. When I turned 40, my parents passed away one after the other. I was left with only Qi Rong by my side. He remained as steadfast as ever, keeping me company. Every day, he would gently smile and tell me about the latest little stories from our small town. Qi Rong's mother would occasionally come to visit us, but he only sighed, touched my face, and then left, just as he used to when I was a child. Later, Qi's mother also passed away in the year I turned 50. With the blessings of the children in our small town, Qi Rong and I were married in the church. That day, he cried like a child. He says he's had a crush on me since we were kids. When we were little, he'd follow his older brother around just to catch a glimpse of me. Even after he moved abroad, he'd still check in to see how I was doing. In university, he finished a 4-year degree in just 2 years, also he could come back from overseas sooner to confess his feelings to me, only to find out I was already his older brother's girlfriend. He had no choice but to bury his feelings, keeping his distance in the role of a younger brother. I smiled as I wiped away his tears, but soon, my own smile gave way to tears. By the time I finally escaped that dark vortex, he and I were both old, but the 20 years after marrying Qi Rong were the happiest of my life. We adopted a whole yard full of stray cats. He taught in the small town, and I opened a dessert shop. On the day my body finally gave out, he held me as we lay together on the rocking chair in our little courtyard. A bottle of sleeping pills rested by his hand. He said he had already arranged all our final affairs, and that he would follow me as soon as I closed my eyes. His students would bring our ashes back home and scatter them over the soil of our homeland. With a smile, I took his hand and said, yes, for I wonder if the heavens finally heard my decades of unwavering prayers, it brought Qi Rong and me back to the day of our engagement, just as I expected. Qijing had been gone for a long time and still hadn't returned. My phone buzzed again with another photo from Suning. My engagement ring was now on her finger. The next second, a message from Qijing also came through. Nian Nian, something urgent came up at the office and I can't get away. I've already told my dad we need to postpone the engagement party. Could you please explain the situation to your parents on my behalf? We'll reschedule the engagement for another time. With only 20 minutes left until the party was set to begin, I went to find the elders from both families, my formal dress in hand. Just then, I saw Mr. Qi, phone in hand, berating Qi Zheng's assistant. My parents sat a short distance away, utterly bewildered seeing me alone. My parents frowned and looked past me. Nian Nian, the engagement is about to start. Where's Qi Zheng? Mr. Qi cleared his throat awkwardly, just as he was about to explain, I cut him off. Qi Zheng is having an affair. What? The three elders stared at me in shock, with Mr. Qi's eyes widening as he stood up. I showed them the photos Suning had sent me, one by one, and my parents' faces gradually turned ashen. Mr. Qi was so furious he kept muttering, "This is preposterous." I continued calmly, "Qi Zheng is jeopardizing our family's partnership for this woman. Uncle, your Qi family heir is truly disappointing." He's slapping the Shin family in the face. All the guests outside know today is the engagement party for the Shin family's daughter and the Qi family heir. I hope you can give our family a proper explanation, Uncle. Mr. Qi frowned and beckoned to a few bodyguards. Go tie Qi Zheng up and bring him back here. Don't, I quickly interjected. I don't plan on getting engaged to him. Just then, Mr. Qi happened to see Qi Rong coming around the corner. His tone suddenly softened as he tried to reason with me. I have another son, you know him too. Xiao Rong has a clean background. Why don't you settle things with him today? If you're not satisfied in a few days, you can always call off the engagement. Regardless of the outcome, the Qi family will not take back the agreed upon betrothal gifts or shares. I'll even add some of my own private assets as compensation. Nian Nian, what do you think? I subtly held my parents back, preventing them from speaking. I looked hesitantly at Mr. Qi, but I'm supposed to be marrying the heir to the Qi family. Mr. Qi slapped his thigh. That's easy. I'll transfer my shares and his grandfather's shares to Sharon, combined with the shares his mother took when they divorced. That will make Sharon the largest shareholder of the Qi group. I pretended to reluctantly agree with a nod, while secretly giving Qi Rong a covert thumbs up behind the scenes. 5. The engagement banquet in this lifetime proceeded smoothly. No awkwardness, no embarrassment, and none of that dreadful live stream. Qi Rong and I didn't have much time for heartfelt confessions. He needed to take over the Qi family before Qi Zheng returned. This time, I wised up. In a short time, I spent a fortune to assemble a professional team to help me operate my short video account. Qi Rong spent $1 million to help me with influencer marketing. In just 1 week, my follower count surpassed 10 million. I also regularly livestream myself making desserts. After handing my father the list of Shin Group employees that needed to be dealt with, I booked a flight to Italy. In my past life, after the Shin family suffered a devastating blow, many internal problems came to light. The very thing that ended up supporting our family to the end was the Italian branch that was on the verge of bankruptcy. This time, I'm going to visit the elderly lady with whom the branch has maintained a long-standing local partnership. In my previous life, after the elderly lady heard about my situation, she helped me a great deal. Empty. The town where Qi Rong and I settled was the one she took us to. I started the live stream as soon as the plane landed. As usual, I sent out tens of thousands in red envelopes to the live stream, and the viewer count shot up instantly. I went to the old lady's favorite dessert shop and had the pastry chef guide me through making a cake with my own hands. The live stream comments were flying by. Miss, your outfit today is so beautiful. Obviously, when has our dear Nian Nian ever not been beautiful? Having money is great. You can learn all sorts of skills. This cake looks incredibly professional. I watched the comments scroll by with a smile and proposed, alright then, for this giveaway, I'll set 10 learning spots. Whoever gets picked, I'll cover a full year of tuition for whatever you want to learn. Instantly, the comment feed started scrolling like crazy. Everyone was spamming things like, you're the best, wifey, and thank you, miss, we've been live for hours, and the viewer count is still climbing. I packed up the cake, planning to head back to the hotel to change before visiting the old lady. To my surprise, I ran into an acquaintance the moment I stepped into the hotel lobby. 6. Qi Zheng froze for a moment when he saw me, subtly disengaging his arm from Suning's grasp. Nian Nian, what are you doing here? Ignoring Suning's venomous glare, I asked Qi Zheng in a flat, unemotional tone. And you? I thought you had company business to attend to. Qi Zheng didn't look the least bit flustered. He introduced Suning to me, saying, "This is an artist from my talent agency, she's shooting a commercial here, and I just came along to check on things." I gave a nod, not wanting to engage with them. Just as I was about to leave, Suning called out to me, "Miss, that cake in your hand looks absolutely gorgeous. Could I buy it from you?" I stole a glance at the livestream camera still in my assistant's hand and refused with a forced smile. No. Tears instantly welled up in Suning's eyes, and she tugged pitifully at Qi Zheng's sleeve. Qi Zheng gave her a reassuring nod. He turned to me. "Nian Nian, Suning skipped lunch and is feeling a bit faint. Could you give this to her? I'll buy you another one later." I frowned and took a step back. Why should I give it to her? If she wants it, she can go buy her own. Qi Zheng frowned, his tone reproachful. "Nian Nian, when did you become so stingy? It's just a piece of cake." Noticing my displeased expression, it finally dawned on him. "Don't get the wrong idea, she's just an employee." "Oh. Right, the employee you spent hundreds of millions to build up. Those in the know say you're an angel investor who doesn't expect returns. Those who aren't, well, they'd think you're tisk, Shen Nian Nian." Qi Zheng's face instantly darkened as he grabbed my arm, apologized to Suning. I looked at him, completely baffled, then turned to my assistant. Did I say something wrong? My assistant was equally confused. No, not at all. The live chat was thoroughly enjoying the drama. This guy is definitely feeling guilty. What kind of big shot CEO flies overseas with a third-tier celebrity just to shoot a commercial? Isn't he the president of the Qi Group? Could he be Nian Nian's boyfriend? Don't even go there. Hands off our young lady. No wonder Suning got such amazing resources right from her debut. Her fans kept hyping her up as a mysterious rich heiress, but turns out she just has a sugar daddy. The livestream viewer count was skyrocketing. I felt I dropped enough hints and was ready to leave. I had just shaken off Qi Zheng's hand when Suning blocked my path. "Miss Shen, it's all my fault. I'm the one who wanted the cake, which caused your argument with President Qi." The next second, my hand was empty. Suning had snatched the cake and flung it to the ground. "Don't blame Mr. Qi. It's all this cake's fault." Cream splattered from the edge of the box. Qi Zheng swiftly grabbed Suning's arm and pulled her away. With a startled cry, Suning lost her balance and stumbled into Qi Zheng's arms. From my vantage point and the live stream camera's angle, I could see her flash me a provocative smile. "The barrage is flying by. What is she doing? Is Suning being a manipulative B***TCH? Is she trying to start something?" I'm screen recording this. Even I, a guy, can tell this girl is trouble. My hands are itching. I want to hit someone. Am I the only one who feels bad for the young lady spending hours on that cake? Qi Zheng frowned, glancing down at Suning, but ultimately said nothing. He looked up at me apologetically. "She hasn't been in a good mood lately, and she's a bit on edge. I'll make it up to you. We can head back together once this is over." All right, I get it." I cut him off just in time. Well, my objective was achieved anyway. I stole a subtle glance at the mess on the floor. Someone else made this cake. The one I made myself has already been sent to the madam. A few days ago, Qi Rong sent me his brother and Suning's itinerary. On the surface, this is a visit to the madam, our business partner, but the real purpose is to livestream and expose their true colors, give them a taste of their own medicine. I paid them no further mind and turned to head back upstairs to my hotel room to rest. 7 In less than an hour, hashtags like "diva actress smashes cake" and "Suning kept as a mistress" were dominating the trending charts. Netizens also dug up a lot of dirt on her. Everything came to light: faking academic credentials, phoning in performances, bullying junior actors. It was clear Qi Zheng was trying to suppress the trending topics, but new ones kept getting bought and pushed to the top. I was scrolling away, completely engrossed, when the hashtag Suning Live suddenly blew up. Out of curiosity, I clicked in and saw Suning, eyes red-rimmed, arguing with the barrage of livestream comments. Her manager and fans were spamming the comments section, begging her to end the livestream and let the company's legal team handle it, but she refused, stubbornly adding "end the stream" to her block list. I didn't drop the cake. Miss Shen simply failed to hold on to it. Furthermore, I've earned my current position through my own hard work. I have no sugar daddy and I am not being kept by anyone. The barrage comments weren't having it. "Oh sure, the cake just magically walked onto the floor. We're all blind, apparently. Spare us the hard work act. You could throw $1 billion at a brick and make it a B-list celebrity, without a sugar daddy. You think you could afford that mansion, drive a car worth millions? Come on, sis, don't you find that laughable?" Suning bit her lip, glanced off screen, then raised her hand as if steeling her resolve, revealing the ring on her finger. "Qi Zheng and I are in a proper relationship. This is the engagement ring he gave me." What's wrong with my fiancé giving me a gift? The barrage of comments froze for a second, then someone posted, would you rather believe she's CEO Chi's fiancé, or believe I'm Qin Shi Huang? This was immediately followed by a screen full of all hail the emperor, comments furious. Suning set up another keyword filter, but soon, new bullet comments appeared. The ring designer posted about it, tagging you directly. He claims this pair of rings is his original design, created specifically for the engagement of the Qi family heir and the Shen family heiress. People are asking why you're the one wearing it. The designer has posted the design timeline and the original sketches. They're an exact match. The paved diamond design forms an S for Shen, and there's a Q engraved inside the band. Why don't you take it off and show us? The designer has made it clear. He's already contacted his lawyer. You can either admit to copying the ring design, or admit to theft. Su Ning's face flushed red, then turned ashen, and finally went deathly pale. She mumbled and lowered her hand. It's just a coincidence, they're clearly different. And this ring was a gift from my boyfriend. I don't know anything about it. Suddenly, Qi Jing's angry voice came from behind her phone. Turn off the live stream. Didn't I say I'd handle this? The next second, the screen went completely black. I put my phone down with a tinge of regret. What they're going through isn't even a tenth of what I endured, and they can't handle it. My phone buzzed. Qi Rong was calling me. How's everything going in Italy, honey? Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Qi Rong noticed the dejection in my voice. What's wrong? I rolled over onto my back, staring at the ceiling. I miss you a little. Qi Rong's voice was warm with laughter, gentle as ever. Then come open the door. I froze for a second, then abruptly sat up. I ran to the bedroom door without even stopping to put on my slippers. I opened the door to see Qi Rong's beautiful, peach blossom eyes crinkling with a smile. What a coincidence, he said. I was just thinking about you, too. 9. Qi Rong scooped me up into his arms and gave me a mischievous little bounce. Why aren't you wearing slippers? You'll catch a cold. I was so startled I clung tightly to his neck. Qi Rong, all right, I'll stop teasing you. Qi Rong sat on the sofa, holding me in his arms, just like in our past life when he would patiently soothe me as if I were a child after my frantic crying fits. I'm going back tomorrow, and you still came all this way to see me. The group's affairs are mostly settled. It also helped that my brother has been out of the country recently, so the handover went very smoothly. I nodded, my gaze distant and unfocused. I'm a bit uncertain if I did the right thing. Qi Rong sensed my inner turmoil and gently patted my back to comfort me. I've already discreetly sent people to keep an eye on them, to ensure an incident like last time doesn't happen again. This is what they deserve now. They need to live on, to fully experience the pain they once inflicted on you. My heart settled, and I looked up to kiss his Adam's apple. Thank you. Qi Rong's gaze darkened as he gently lifted my chin. A wordless understanding passed between husband and wife in that glance. We felt each other's youthful bodies, desperately trying to make up for the decades we had missed in the heat of passion. There is no you or me. 10. Knock, knock, knock. Someone knocked on the hotel room door. I didn't want to get up, but the knocking grew louder. I had no choice but to throw on a robe and go answer it. Who is it? Nian Nian. The designer of those rings is your friend Shin Shiran. She's not answering my calls. Can you get in touch with her? Qi Jing wasn't wearing a tie, and the top button of his shirt was undone. He looked thoroughly agitated. You need to tell her to take that post down, now. I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe. And why should I? Qi Jing was taken aback. His restless agitation subsided as he placed both hands on my shoulders, lowering his gaze to meet my eyes directly. Su Ning is a girl from a mountain village I met during middle school. When my father and I were doing charity work, our relationship is purely that of a sponsor and the sponsored. When she was in school, Su Ning was bullied for having no parents or family. She developed a severe psychological disorder as a result. I'm the one who saved her life, time and time again. Now that she's entered the entertainment industry and is doing what she loves, her mood has gradually improved. The reason I left the engagement party last time, it was because of her. Qi Zhang's eyes held a trace of guilt. She sees me as her only family in this world. She was afraid I'd stop caring for her after I got married, so she acted a bit rashly. The reason I'm going abroad this time is to accompany her and help her clear her head. She's like a little sister I've raised since she was a child. She's just become too dependent on me. I let out a sarcastic laugh. If you're so charitable, why don't you just adopt every girl with mental health issues as your little sister? My words stopped Qi Jing in his tracks. His grip on my shoulders tightened. Shen Nian, stop being unreasonable. I know the Shen family had a hand in stirring up this public opinion. You're angry that I left you behind that day. Su Ning is an orphan. She poses no threat to you. She's on the verge of an emotional breakdown now. A life is at stake, no matter how you look at it. Please, do this for me, okay? I wrenched myself free from his grasp and answered coldly, no. Honey, who are you talking to? Ji-rong walked out of the bathroom. He was just trying for a third round, so I locked him in the bathroom to take care of it himself. Qijing looked past me and saw his younger brother, who was wearing nothing but a towel. 11. Qijing was stunned for a moment, then let out a helpless laugh. If you wanted to make me jealous, you shouldn't have asked Xiaorong to help you put on this act. Nian Nian. I know you're upset. Once this situation is resolved, I'll come back and we can proceed with the engagement. I rolled my eyes, thinking this guy was out of his mind. That's completely unnecessary. I pushed him away and slammed the door shut. Qijing genuinely wasn't worried about anything happening between me and his brother. When we were kids playing house, Qijing and I were the parents, and Qi-rong always played the child. As we grew older, Qi-rong continued to call me big sister. I've always said I prefer guys a bit older than me and would never date a younger man. Furthermore, in the current timeline, the number of times Qi-rong and I have met since he returned to the country can be counted on one hand, but no one would ever know that in our past life, Qi-rong and I had already shaped each other into the perfect partner. Qi-rong chuckled softly and wrapped his arm around my waist. My brother actually doesn't believe we're together. With that level of emotional and intellectual intelligence, no wonder he gets played like a fiddle by a woman. According to Qi-rong's investigation, Su Ning never had any so-called mental illness. Therefore, their fall from the rooftop in their previous life was also a complete accident. Honey, we've been given this second chance to be in our 20s again. Shouldn't we make the most of our youth? Stop fooling around. We have to get up early for our flight back home. 12. The very first thing I did after getting off the plane back home was to drag Qi-rong to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our marriage certificate. My greatest regret from my past life was not getting this little red book with Qi-rong. Qi-rong watched me curiously flipping through our ID photos and said with a doting smile, once things settle down, we'll have a proper wedding. I want to have a few more while I'm still looking good. Alright, whatever you say. I originally thought Su Ning and Qijing would be returning home soon as well. According to the people surveilling them, Su Ning was sent to the hospital again after another wrist-cutting incident. The wounds weren't deep, but the significant blood loss made it look quite alarming. Nevertheless, Qijing chose to stay at the hospital to keep watch. His secretary had long been bribed by Qi-rong, and with Qi's father helping to cover things up, he still hadn't realized his authority within the Qi group had been completely stripped away. Not to mention he was busy dealing with Su Ning's negative press. If he had come back just a few days earlier, things wouldn't have gone so smoothly for us. After Qi-rong and I secured the development zone project, the partnership between our two companies was officially cemented. On our drive home, we passed by a bridal shop. Seeing me take a few extra glances, Qi-rong pulled over right away and took me in to try it on. In our past life, after we got married, we would go to the bridal shop in our little town every year to have a set of photos taken. Later on, Qi-rong even taught himself fashion design and sketched out numerous wedding dress designs. He then had a tailor make them and gave them to me as gifts. After putting on my wedding dress, I took a few self-indulgent photos and casually posted them to my social media. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I couldn't help but marvel once more at how wonderful it is to be young. Qi-rong wrapped his arms around me from behind and whispered, "You look absolutely beautiful, my love, beautiful in youth, beautiful in age." I tilted my head back with a proud smile. Of course, I spent the whole morning on the contract signing, then another half hour trying on wedding dresses, and I was getting a bit thirsty. Perfect timing. I could have Qi-rong go buy me some milk tea while I'm getting my makeup done. The moment he left, I turned around and saw an old friend walk through the door. Qijing's eyes lit up when he saw me, and he strode over. "I just got off the plane and saw your WeChat post. It was right on my way. Why didn't you wait for me to come back for the wedding photos?" Dark circles shadowed Qijing's eyes, a clear sign that Su Ning had run him ragged and he hadn't gotten much rest. Oblivious to my distaste for him, he turned to the shop manager. "Could you please fetch the matching formal wear for me?" The shop manager, confused by the situation, looked at me with a questioning glance. I shook my head slightly, signaling for him not to get involved, thinking I was still upset. Qijing had just placed a hand on my shoulder when Su Ning's shrill voice cut through the air. "Brother Sheng, what are you doing?" We both turned to look at the doorway. There stood Su Ning, having removed her mask, her eyes burning with obsession. "Didn't you say you were going back to the office after dropping me off?" Qijing frowned at her. "You followed me." Su Ning's expression froze, then instantly turned fragile and vulnerable, her eyes welling up with tears. "That's not it. I just don't feel safe when I'm away from you. And didn't you promise you'd handle the bad press for me, and publicly acknowledge that you're my boyfriend? Now you're getting all tangled up with another woman. What if the paparazzi catch you? Exhaustion was evident in Qi Zheng's eyes, but he patiently tried to soothe her. I will acknowledge it, but I'll say we've already broken up amicably. Xiaoning, I can't protect you forever. Nian Nian is my fiancé. She's already had to put up with a lot because of you. So could you please be a little more considerate? Who's his fiancé? I took a step back, putting some distance between us with a look of utter distaste. Bro, what are you doing here? Qi Rong strode over to stand in front of me, deftly placing himself between me and the others. 13. Qi Jing frowned slightly, his gaze scrutinizing Qi Rong. Did you come here after seeing Nian Nian's social media post too? Qi Rong gave a gentle smile and put his arm around my shoulder. Of course I came with her to take photos. Only then did Qi Jing notice that his younger brother was wearing a full groom suit. His tone carried a hint of displeasure. Even if you're here in my place to accompany Nian Nian, you're both adults now. You should still maintain an appropriate distance. I looked at him with an innocent expression. Qi Rong is my fiancé. Why should I keep my distance? Then, I gave Qi Rong a loud, smacking kiss on the cheek. Qi Jing was taken aback. What fiancé? I explained patiently. After you left that day, my parents and your father discussed it, to avoid a scandal for both families. They switched the engagement arrangement at the last minute. Oh my, did no one tell you? I covered my mouth in an exaggerated gesture. That's perfect. Now you have a perfectly legitimate reason to take care of Su Ning. Qi Zheng's expression gradually darkened. This is utter nonsense. You're my girlfriend. How could you possibly be engaged to my brother? My father can't make such a rash decision. Are you two putting on another act to fool me? I just shrugged. I didn't care what wild story he was concocting in his head. All I knew was that Su Ning, standing behind him, was practically green with envy. I looked up at Qi Rong. I want to go home. Those two have completely ruined my good mood. Qi Rong gave a faint smile and nodded, then turned to the bridal shop manager. We don't want to waste any more time changing. We'll take the two outfits we're wearing. The manager nodded eagerly and quoted a price. After Qi Rong finished paying, he wrapped an arm around me, picked up the bag with his other hand, and led me out. Only then did Qi Jing snap out of it and block our path. Give me an explanation. Qi Rong maintained his smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. Brother, you can ask father about the engagement, but if you keep harassing us, your little girlfriend here looks like she's about to fall apart. With that, she walked past him and left. 14. Qi Jing, his face ashen, called his secretary. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. Mr. Qi, what happened at the engagement party? Why didn't you report back to me? The secretary's voice was calm. Mr. Zhang, your assistant, accompanied you to the engagement party that day. As per your instructions, I was handling company matters. Where is Assistant Zhang? I haven't been able to reach him on the phone for the past 2 days. He was dismissed by young Master Qi, and his work phone has been reclaimed. What? Qi Jing noticed the secretary's form of address. Who is young Master Qi? Why is he reassigning my staff? Young Master Qi is your younger brother, Mr. Qi Rong. He is currently the largest shareholder of the Qi Group. Oh, and I forgot to inform you, your position at the Qi Group has been officially terminated by a board resolution. All duties are to be handed over to young Master Qi. Qi Jing's eyes widened, and his breath hitched. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. His mind went blank, doubting if the words he heard were real. Brother Jing, have you really fallen for Shen Yanyan? What's so great about her anyway? Would she go to the amusement park with you? Would she ever act cute and playful with you? All these years, it's been me quietly by your side. She has no idea how much pressure you're under. Brother Jing, since she chose your younger brother, why don't you turn around and look at me instead? I'd die without you. Su Ning wrapped her arms around Qi Jing from behind, clinging to him desperately just like she used to. Qi Jing placed his hand over Su Ning's, the one that was holding him. The next second, he flung it away violently. Haven't you caused enough trouble? Only then did Su Ning notice the web of red veins filling Qi Jing's eyes. Stop threatening me with your death. As the heir to the Qi family, the only woman I will ever marry in this lifetime is Shen Yanyan. If it weren't for you, none of this would have happened. With that, he ignored Su Ning and strode out of the room. He decided to return to the Qi family home to ask his father just what was going on. 15. Upon returning to the Qi family home, Qi Jing only then learned that his father had already embarked on a world tour. He slumped onto the sofa, beginning to doubt whether his secretary had told him the truth. He called several managers at the company, but not a single one answered. Even the business partners he managed to reach claimed to know nothing. He decided to go back to the office to see for himself. I had just gotten up when my phone started ringing, thinking it was someone I'd just been in touch with. I answered quickly, only to find it was the police on the line. Mr. Qi Jing, Please come to the Hatai Hotel as soon as possible. Miss Suning is on the rooftop, threatening to take her own life, and she's asking to see you. 16. Suning is live on the rooftop. My mind went blank the moment I saw that headline. The color instantly drained from my face. Chi Rong pressed his lips into a thin line, holding me to offer comfort while making a series of serious phone calls to arrange things. My hands trembled as I opened the live stream. Chi Rong pressed down on the screen. Don't watch it. I took a deep breath, suppressing all my emotions. I need to see this. We've put in so much effort in this lifetime. I refuse to believe we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes. Chi Rong's grip on my hand tightened for a moment before finally easing. Alright, I'll stay with you. The live stream footage looked familiar. It was the rooftop terrace of the same hotel where Xi Jing and I got engaged in my past life. The difference was, Suning wasn't wearing a matching engagement dress, and that effortless, confident smile was gone. It was bordering on hysteria. Where's Xi Jing? I refuse to believe he has no feelings for me at all, and now he's going to marry that woman, Shen. Does he expect me to be his mistress? Then, her expression shifted, and her eyes welled up with tears. I don't mind being the other woman, as long as Brother Jing doesn't leave me. Su Ning was rambling incoherently, and the livestream's popularity was even higher than in her previous life. Even my name instantly shot to the top of the trending searches. Yet, my heart settled into a strange calm. So it really is different from my past life, I sneered, opened my real name account, took a photo of the marriage certificate, and captioned it, "Married, do not disturb." Chi Rong immediately reposted it and commented, "The happiest thing in the world." The public relations teams from the Shen and Chi families, which had been on standby, intervened simultaneously, and the court of public opinion barely touched either of us. The comment section was also unusually harmonious in the live stream. Xi Jing arrived quickly. He stood coldly, 3 paces away from Suning. His eyes were filled with nothing but weariness for her. Suning smiled as she took the ring off her finger. "Isn't this what you've been wanting back from me? You were the one who lost it when you were drunk," yet everyone said I stole it. The biggest regret of my life was ever meeting you. After crying out those words, Suning turned around and raised her hand, ready to throw the ring off the building. Qi Jing's eyes widened, and he rushed forward to grab her arm, but Suning's foot slipped, pulling Qi Jing off balance, and the two of them vanished from the live stream. 17. Qi Rong's phone rang. He received a photograph. Qi Jing and Suning landed on the air mattress he had prepared in advance. Indiana, their previous life. The police hadn't had time to deploy the air mattress, so the two of them fell to a bloody, mangled death. In this life, Qi Rong has had people quietly keeping an eye on Suning, and all manner of rescue equipment was kept at the ready. The moment Suning arrived at the hotel, a safety net began to be deployed across half the building's facade. However, these measures could only ensure the two wouldn't be killed by the fall. As Suning fell, her face scraped against a securing buckle of the safety canopy, tearing off a large strip of flesh from her forehead down to her chin. Xi Jing, on the other hand, landed with Suning on top of him, injuring his spine and suffering a comminuted fracture in his lower body. During treatment, the attending physician discovered that Suning had severe self-destructive tendencies and applied to have her transferred to a psychiatric hospital. Xi Jing shut himself in his hospital room, refusing to see anyone. Some of Suning's radical fans tracked down his hospital room and began sending him a relentless stream of the same kind of terrifying parcels they had once sent me. When I heard this news, I felt absolutely nothing. What they're going through now is exactly what I went through. I'm no saint. Every night I spent going mad in a foreign land in my past life. I thought that if they were still alive, I would return the favor in kind, let them suffer the same pain I went through. Qi Rong sent his father abroad and renamed the Qi group back to his mother's maiden name, the Yu group. Qi Rong and I got married smoothly, with the blessings of his mother and my parents. Later, the two of us dedicated ourselves to philanthropy. We once had a theory: this hard-won rebirth must be the karmic reward for our virtuous deeds in a past life. The cycle of cause and effect in this world always has its own logic. Story 2. My sister and I saved the richest man. He gave us two choices: either take 10 million, or marry his son. I'd heard the richest man's only son was ugly, so my sister begged me to marry him instead. But to my surprise, the richest man's son turned out to be Qin Huai, the campus heartthrob, and he's been incredibly doting since we got married. My sister, however, took the money and became addicted to gambling, eventually being swindled out of her money and dignity. Out of jealousy, she pushed me off a tall building, but accidentally fell herself. When we opened our eyes again, we had both been reborn to the day of our choice. She was quick to choose the engagement, but I just smiled. 10 million yuan was a much better deal than marrying a pervert. 1. Uncle, I choose to marry your son. My sister blurted it out, her body still trembling slightly from overwhelming excitement, her eyes filled with greed and desire. I curved my lips into a smile. What a coincidence. My sister was reborn with me too. I was just wondering how to get her to choose to marry him. Talk about perfect timing. Just when I needed it most. The billionaire didn't give a direct answer, but gave me a kind smile instead. You're the elder sister. You choose first. My sister and I have completely different temperaments. She's lively, impulsive and straightforward, not the best match for his son, and I, quiet, well-behaved, and docile, am the easiest to control. My sister quickly tugged at my hand, her eyes flashing with a hint of threat. Sister, I heard uncle's son is ugly and has a bad temper. You couldn't handle that kind of hardship. So I'll marry him instead. I smiled faintly. Are you sure? You won't regret it later. My sister shook her head frantically. Absolutely not. When I get home, I'll even put in a good word for you with Mom and Dad. I'll never snatch your things again. I smirked, a meaningful smile playing on my lips. All right, little sister, just remember what you said today. Then I turned to the richest man and said, Uncle, I choose 10 million. The richest man replied with a hint of regret. All right then. My sister's eyes crinkled with joy, seemingly lost in dreams of a blissful life after marrying into the wealthy Qin family. Not only do I have an incredibly handsome and loving husband, but I also get to enjoy endless wealth and luxury. Dad, please don't worry, my husband and I will definitely take good care of you from now on. The doctor said I'm perfectly healthy, and I can give you 2 grandchildren in 3 years. If there's anything I do wrong in the future, just tell me, and I promise I'll change. Before he even stepped through the door, the dad started calling out. Each word sweeter than the last. A smile finally graced the richest man's face. Quite intriguing. All right, your words put my mind at ease. We don't have many rules in this family, but the one and only rule is, only widowhood, no divorce. The sister's smile instantly brightened. To her, this was a stroke of pure luck. I nodded eagerly. Don't worry, Dad. No matter what happens, I'll never divorce my husband. With downcast eyes, I watched the newly sprouted leaves on the lawn, a mocking smile curling at the corners of my lips. In my past life, the tycoon never said this. They knew I valued loyalty, so they used my parents' lives to suppress me, preventing any resistance. As for my sister, it was even simpler. Just throw enough money at her. The greedy, selfish younger sister and the twisted, devilish young master. What a perfect match, a top-tier pairing, a match made in heaven too. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, the younger sister excitedly announced the monumental news. Mom and Dad, I'm going to marry Qin Huai, the richest man's son. From now on, I'll be Mrs. Qin. Dad shot up from the couch, stunned. Sure, Qin, are you serious? You're not kidding, are you? Mom, her finger trembling slightly, pointed at the news report about the richest man donating 1.3 billion to his alma mater. The richest man you're talking about, is it him? My sister lifted her chin, as proud as a peacock. Who else could it be? His son, Qin Huai, is the campus heartthrob at our university. Didn't you see him when you helped me sign up? He's super handsome and gentle, the richest man in the country. My dad said that in half a month, it'll be an auspicious day, and we'll have a grand wedding then. Mom and Dad, from now on, you'll be in-laws with the richest man in the country. Aren't you happy? How could they not be happy? Mom's eyes were red with excitement, and Dad quickly went to wash fruit and pour drinks for my sister. Mom swallowed hard and said, the richest man just donated 1.3 billion to his alma mater. How rich must he be? My sister was the center of attention, and you could tell she was absolutely thrilled. She even shot me a mocking glance out of the corner of her eye. Oh, absolutely. Their family's empire primarily spans real estate and luxury goods. They have more money than they could ever spend in several lifetimes. You know those high-end office buildings in the city center with the most exorbitant rents? They own all of them. They're not collecting rent, they're collecting ground rent. The richest man said their family has only one rule. Divorce is not an option. Seriously, who would even want a divorce once they're married into that family? You'd be laughing in your sleep every night. I smiled, enjoying my sister's animated chatter, feeling her joy in that moment. The richest man's family is indeed swimming in money, and they can spend it however they please. No questions asked, but everything comes at a price, especially for such a shrewd businessman. The reason the richest man donated 1.3 billion to his alma mater was because Qin Huai was responsible for the death of a female student at the school. To keep the incident under wraps, he spent a fortune, ensuring everyone with knowledge got a piece of the pie. There's a reason my sister is marrying Qin Huai in half a month. A grand wedding can conceal many sins. My mom, quick-witted as ever, immediately reacted. The richest man is so generous. letting Shurqing marry his son. So what did you get? My sister casually replied, just 10 million. Her nonchalant remark, however, made Mom and Dad's eyes light up, and they excitedly rubbed their hands together. Sure you, there's no need for a girl like you to carry so much cash. Mom will keep it safe for you, and you can have it back whenever you need it. I scoffed, different from my past life, yet exactly the same in my previous life. My sister got 10 million, and my parents told her to spend it on herself, to doll herself up, then they'd turn to me, demanding I give her money too, saying that since I married well, it was only right for me to support the family because she was younger and had a sweet tongue. My sister was exceptionally doted on, so she gets twice as much allowance as I do every month, and I still have to buy her snacks no matter how well I do on my exams. They only ever go to my sister's parent-teacher conferences whenever my sister and I have any kind of argument. It's always my fault, because I'm the older sister but I'm only 1 minute older than her. 3. Mom, Dad, it's not that I don't want to give it to you, but this money was given to me by the richest man, and you just took it. What will they think? They'll assume our family sold me off for status, and my sister will be looked down upon once she marries into that family. I was just making things up, but Mom, Dad, and my sister clearly bought it. My sister waved her hand dismissively. Forget it. It's just 10 million, right? Mom and Dad, don't ask my sister for it anymore. Once I successfully marry Qin Huai, we'll have all the money we could ever want, but, big sister, you have to promise me this, you can never appear in front of Qin Huai again, and you're not allowed to live at home anymore. Is she afraid something might happen between Qin Huai and me? I curved my lips into a smile. This is exactly what I wanted. Why didn't I realize my sister was so adorable before now? Everything my sister says and does is music to my ears. Alright, I'll go pack my bags now. I won't come back until you notify me. From now on, I wish you and your brother-in-law a harmonious marriage and many children soon. My sister was pleased with my tact, nodding and saying, you're so well behaved now. Sis, if you keep being this obedient, I might even reward you with a little something when I'm in a good mood. I smiled even brighter than her, packed everything in 10 minutes, and left the house in a hurry with my suitcase. Everything went so smoothly. Once I was in the taxi, I finally couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. With my insanely jealous sister gone, my twisted, demonic husband out of the picture, and my greedy, biased parents finally out of my hair, the sky has turned bluer and the wind feels so much more romantic. 10 million yuan can really go a long way, like buying a fully furnished studio apartment downtown, ready to move in, with security guards patrolling right outside. Then I'd start my own venture, which is really just playing the stock market. In my past life, I was quite interested in stocks, though I only dabbled with pocket money. I lost a fair bit, but at least I remembered some surefire winning stocks. Those overnight millionaire stocks are all insider manipulated, though I've noted a few. I wasn't bold enough to go all in, diversified my investments instead. Playing it safe never hurts. As for traditional businesses like restaurants, apparel, or beauty services, not really my cup of tea, but e-commerce, that's where the future lies. They'll eventually swallow up 70% of brick-and-mortar stores. Just as I finalized the company registration and secured our office space, my sister's wedding invitation arrived, exquisitely crafted with golden wheat ears embroidered along the edges. My sister video called me from the Qin family mansion's garden, 2 attendants standing by in the background, living the high life. I see, sis. Did you get the invitation? I smiled, holding up the invitation and giving it a little shake. I did. It's absolutely stunning. My sister's eyes sparkled with pride. Of course it is. I had it custom made. The wheat ears are crafted from pure gold, and those sparkling gems are real jade. Just one invitation cost over 8,000 yuan, for I feigned an envious look. Wow, that must have cost a fortune. She chuckled, even more smugly. Not really, just a few million. That's pocket change for our Qin family. Did you see the calligraphy on the wedding invitation? Isn't the name beautifully written? My husband, Qin Huai, wrote it all himself. His handwriting is just like him. Not only is he handsome, but he writes beautifully too, don't you think? Sister, do you regret not listening to me back then and not choosing Qin Huai? I traced the words on the invitation, smiling meaningfully. Why would I? Seeing my sister so happy makes me happy too. She scoffed. Sister, you really are pathetic. You were bullied by me before, and you're still bullied by me now. You deserve to be trampled underfoot for 2 lifetimes. I pretended not to understand. After she bragged a few more times, she finally hung up, satisfied. I, too, stared at the calligraphy of my name. This handwriting was all too familiar to me. Qin Huai was blessed with good looks, always smiling, seemingly harmless. His hands, in particular, were incredibly beautiful, long and well-defined, perfect for playing the piano at a grade 10 level and writing calligraphy with a flourish even when those beautiful hands committed evil. They remained beautiful. He loved writing calligraphy. He'd make me kneel and grind the ink for him, then have me, completely naked, become the canvas for his brush. Just recalling a few brief moments left me drenched in a cold sweat. Chin Hui is my unresolved issue. If I can't deal with him, he'll haunt me for the rest of my life. Looking at the stock market, all red and glowing on the screen, my initial 3 million from playing the market has now grown to over 30 million. This would have been unimaginable before, so why can't I be bolder? Admire the richest, become the richest, surpass the richest. It was dubbed the wedding of the century, rumored to have cost 300 million yuan. The tiara alone, worn by the bride, was said to have once belonged to a princess from a certain country, and with 3 bodyguards flanking her, its immense value was undeniable. Her wedding gown was haute couture, and the smile on her face outshone even the brightest midday sun. Dressed in a sharp black suit, Chin Hui's dashing looks easily rivaled those of any idol in the entertainment industry. It was truly a picture-perfect moment of a beautiful couple, especially when he got down on one knee to propose. Sure, Qing, I'll cherish you for the rest of my life. You'll never regret being with me. My sister was so touched that tears welled up in her eyes, and she nodded vigorously. Yes, I believe you. The audience erupted in thunderous applause, many shedding tears of emotion. Only the groomsmen, a group of rich second-generation heirs, had looks of playful mockery in their eyes. They weren't good guys either. They usually hung out together and got into trouble. As long as they steer clear of the family business and don't try to start their own, their parents consider any amount of money they spend as mere pocket change. 5. During the toasts, as the bride's sister, I couldn't just leave, even if I wanted to. So, in this life, for my first encounter with Chin Hui, I tried my best to keep my head down and remain inconspicuous, but I still caught Chin Hui's attention. He said with a half smile, even though you're my wife's older sister, it seems this is our first time meeting, isn't it? I heard you're very busy. What keeps you so occupied that you don't even attend family dinners? With no other choice, I raised my head to meet his gaze, those smiling yet sinister eyes, his slightly arched eyebrows betraying keen interest in me. My hands clenched into tight fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms, the sharp pain barely keeping my fear at bay. I forced a strained smile. Yeah, just busy with work. Chin Hui licked his teeth with playful amusement. Oh, what keeps my dear sister so occupied? Maybe I could lend a hand. Any other woman would be over the moon with the crown prince's public display of affection, but it sent shivers down my spine. My sister stepped forward, placing herself between him and me. Honey, there are still so many people waiting for me to toast. Only then did Chin Hui let me go. After my sister finished her toasts, they moved to the next table. I didn't dare to linger, so I grabbed my bag and left. The very next day was the Huimen, returned to parents' home, and I honestly didn't think my sister would ask me back, just to avoid Chin Hui. But then Mom called, insisting I come, and her tone was quite urgent. In that case, Chin Hui definitely hadn't come back with her, so I didn't make any excuses. The moment I slipped on my slippers, I looked up and saw my sister's utterly exhausted face, her bright eyes already bloodshot. It clicked for me then. So, Chin Hui had already laid hands on her last night. In my previous life, at least he waited a month before he did that to me. But then I saw the crocodile skin bag on her arm, worth over 700,000 yuan, and it all made sense. Chin Hui is a very generous man, spending money on women like water, but only if he's willing to, not if the woman actively seeks it. So, in his eyes, a money-grubbing sister was just a toy he bought, and since it's a toy, he can play with it whenever he wants, right? Why bother picking a time? So what if it's their wedding night? I deliberately feigned surprise. Sis, how did you change so much in just one night? Then it hit me, and I chuckled, teasing. Oh, right, last night was your wedding night with your husband. It's only natural you'd be a bit tired. My sister didn't say a word, but stared intently at my face, trying to figure out if I was faking it. I blinked. Sis, why are you looking at me like that? Her voice was incredibly hoarse. She must have been crying and begging all night. But Chin Hui is a pervert. The more you cry, the more excited he gets. After a long hesitation, she still chose to give up. Sister, you, never mind. 6. Mom cooked a whole table of dishes, all her younger sister's favorites: spicy crab, mao shuawang, spicy blood curd, stir-fried beef. She only managed a couple sips of fish soup and a few bites of tofu, finding it hard to swallow. Her dad asked with concern, Sure Qing, are you feeling unwell? She forced a smile and replied, I drank too much last night, my throat's a bit sore. So her mom quickly went to make some seafood congee, and her dad washed some cherries for her. She reluctantly ate a few more bites. I ate with my head down, but couldn't help the smile playing on my lips. Last night, Qin Huai was testing her obedience, probably making her eat all sorts of bizarre things, like live octopus and such. This is just the first step. Gradually, things will get wilder, tying her up and having her join in with his shady friends. But that's not even the worst part. The arm-thick moon eels are truly the most disgusting and terrifying. That thing was much bigger than a regular eel, all slimy and poisonous, just disgusting and twisted. By the way, Shirqing, is your husband very busy? How come he didn't come back with you? My sister's hand, holding the spoon, trembled involuntarily. Yes, he's very busy, Dad said, a bit displeased. Even if he's busy, he should still come for dinner. When you visit your parents, how much time could it possibly take? Mom shot Dad a glare. My son-in-law is a busy man, running a big business. What, did you think he'd be as useless as you? Then, trying to appease her, she served my sister some food. Don't listen to your dad. All that matters is that you and your husband live a good life together. My sister mumbled a perfunctory reply, clearly not wanting to discuss Qin Huai, and quickly changed the subject to me. Sis, what have you been up to these past few days? After finishing my chicken soup, I slowly replied, oh, nothing much, just some shopping and a bit of travel. My sister scoffed, showing off the crocodile bag in her hand. I love shopping too, but my shopping sprees are a bit different from my sister's. We always get the whole store to ourselves, and I can get as many limited editions as I want. Even the ones people would pay extra for but still can't get their hands on. Just the day before yesterday, I spent over 6 million in 2 hours. Mom's eyes widened. Goodness, won't your husband get mad spending so much money? My sister scoffed. He wouldn't even blink at such petty cash. He gave me an unlimited supplementary card. Spend away. I listened to her bragging with a practiced smile, flashing just the right amount of envy. With our parents' endless praise, she seemed to rediscover her motivation for staying with Qin Huai, even if mistreated. The lavish lifestyle and everyone's admiration made it worthwhile. My sister declared grandly, Mom, Dad, I'm taking you shopping this afternoon. Anything you fancy is on me. Mom beamed. That's my precious Shirqing. All those years raising you weren't wasted. You actually remember to buy gifts for your parents when you're rich. They're subtly hinting that I haven't bought them anything. I smiled faintly. My sister and I are different. She has enough wealth to last several lifetimes. After buying my house, I don't have much money left, so I have to be frugal with my spending. My sister, flattered by my words, beamed and said, that's true. My sister will have to make do with this much money for the rest of her life. Mom and Dad, tell me what you want, and I'll buy it for you. Didn't Dad say he wanted a sports car earlier? And let's get a jade bracelet too. Mom and Dad instantly lit up, excitedly discussing what they wanted to buy, specifically picking out the most expensive items. My little sister lifted her chin with peacock-like pride, eyeing me triumphantly. Sis, you must be so jealous of me right now, aren't you? I smiled meaningfully. What woman out there wouldn't envy you? They're all dying to take your place as Mrs. Qin, my sister declared fiercely. Let me see which hussy dares to seduce my husband. I'll end them. The only way anyone takes my place is over my dead body. I smirked and wished her good luck. 7. My social media feed showed my sister's shopping spree with our parents, sports cars, watches, jade bracelets, and designer bags that must have cost at least 10 million. She's in for a rough night. After enjoying the drama, I focused on company matters, hiring streamers, optimizing workflows. Once operations stabilized, I enrolled in management training to transition from rookie to executive. During this period, I networked with several business owners, often joining them for tea and shop talk during downtime. Running a business is tougher than it looks. I lost over 3 million in the first month, but thankfully turned a profit the next month. Though modest, at least the company's back on track now. The stock market's been sluggish lately, though I've managed to make some small gains here and there while playing golf. I happened to see Qin Huai entering the private course with his sister and his usual crowd of dubious friends. A few men nearby erupted in lewd laughter. Young Master Qin is back with his little trophy wife for their amusement again. Last time, oh man, that scene was really something else. Yeah, seriously, a man's own lawfully wedded wife, letting his buddies have a go. That's worse than any streetwalker. Ha ha ha, who knows? Rich people just have their own twisted ways of having fun. I watched them disappear into the woods, a complex expression on my face. In my past life, Qin Huai subjected me to all sorts of abuse and bullying, but at least he didn't let his brothers have their way with me. This is treating his sister as completely subhuman. Well, it makes sense. His sister cost him so much money. He's bound to retaliate. and after being abused, she just wants to use money to mend her physical and emotional wounds, leading them into a vicious cycle. It's only a matter of time before he destroys her, but she's just his sister. And even under these circumstances, she still managed to get pregnant. The Qin family places great importance on heirs, especially since they only have Qin Huai as their sole descendant. My sister's complexion gradually improved, and her social media remained filled with boastful posts, though now Qin Huai occasionally appeared in them, his gaze tender and doting. The comments section was always flooded with envy, saying she must have saved the galaxy in her past life to deserve marrying Qin Huai. My sister called to gloat. Sis, the doctor confirmed it's a boy. He'll be the young heir to the Qin family fortune the moment he's born. Let's see who dares challenge my position now. I smiled and said, congratulations. Is the baby healthy? My sister replied proudly. Perfectly healthy. The doctor mentioned something about supermale syndrome. I didn't catch it clearly, but it basically means he'll be extra strong. 8. I nearly burst out laughing. The dangers of ignorance are truly frightening, I gently warned. I've heard of XYY syndrome before. It's associated with aggressive tendencies. The younger sister snapped furiously. Stop cursing my son. You're just jealous because you couldn't bear a son while I could. Don't think I don't see through you. You keep claiming you're not interested in Qin Huai, but secretly you're still hung up on him, envying my happy life now. Listen well, sister, I warn you, if I could kill you once, I can damn well do it again. I opened my mouth and said, sis, what strange things are you saying? I don't understand a word. My sister sneered. It doesn't matter if you don't understand anything else, but if you dare to steal Qin Huai from me, I'll kill you. Understand? I said meaningfully. Don't worry, that's absolutely impossible. I'd rather die than fight you for your brother-in-law. He's always yours. In my previous life, I was actually pregnant, twice in fact, but both times the babies had XYY syndrome. The doctor said it might be hereditary. I used to suspect Qin Huai had XYY syndrome, but judging by his appearance, he doesn't seem to. However, looking at my father-in-law's looks and behavior, it's likely a generational inheritance from him. That would explain why my father-in-law had so many women but only one child, Qin Huai, as it's very difficult for men with XYY syndrome to have offspring. Children with XYY syndrome are terrifying. They inherently carry violent genes and are very impulsive. 9 times out of 10, they don't turn out to be good people, but with proper guidance, there's still a chance. In my past life, though, I wasn't willing to take that gamble because I felt Qin Huai would eventually kill me. What kind of decent person could come from a family of perverts like theirs? Just as my live streaming company secured $1 billion investment, ready to expand and aim for an IPO within 3 years, my sister gave birth. This big baby boy, weighing in at 8.3 caddies, is quite a sight. While babies aren't always lookers, this one is exceptionally unique. But then again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and they all think he's adorable. My sister made a grand announcement on social media. The order placed 10 months ago finally arrived today. Huge thanks to my in-laws for this amazing mansion. It's the first time I've ever received such a massive gift. 100 million. Out of the 9 photos, only one was of the baby. The rest were all pictures of the rewards her in-laws gave her. The comments section was flooded with envy, so I gave it a like too. Now that the baby's born, Qin Huai finally let loose again. This time was even worse. With the child already here, all bets were off. He never used to hit her face before, but now he doesn't hold back at all. My younger sister went home crying to our parents and called me back too. Dad fumed. This is absolutely outrageous. You just gave birth to their grandson, and he dares lay a hand on you. No way. I'm going over there to demand an explanation and make Qin Huai apologize to you. Mom grabbed Dad's arm. It's pointless. They won't even see you. Dad slammed the table. If they refuse, I'll sue them. I refuse to believe there's no justice in this world. I chimed in. I'm with you, Dad. Worst case, sis can just divorce him. Before I could finish, my sister cut me off. No, I can't divorce him. I've worked too hard to get where I am. If I divorce him, I'll lose everything. I'm baby's mother, Mrs. Qin. The Qin group will belong to my son in the future, and I will never let go of it. Then she glared at me fiercely. Sister, you're just jealous of me, aren't you? You want to take my place, don't you? I won't let you have your way. I threw my hands up. Fine then. Pretend I never said anything. I wish you both a long and happy marriage. If only she had listened, she might have saved her life, but blinded by wealth, she had already descended into madness. 9. At first, I'd still see my sister showing off baby photos and videos on her social media, but then she stopped appearing in them herself. Her facial injuries just never healed. She used to be able to spend lavishly, but after having the baby, she was confined to the house. A full-time mom with no money of her own to spend. That 100 million was supposedly a reward for her. But it was just a formality in their eyes. She had already given birth and couldn't escape, so there was no need to invest anything more in her. Half a year later, the baby had grown a bit. She couldn't say mommy or daddy, but she'd pull her sister's hair and deliberately bite her while nursing, making her roll around in pain. My mom would call me from time to tell me all this, cursing Qin Huai as an animal and the baby as a little beast, but she never once suggested supporting her or telling her to get a divorce because they were afraid Qin Huai would demand they return all the money my sister had spent on them over the years. There's some paternal and maternal love, but not much. But my sister brought all of this upon herself. The live streaming market is booming right now. In just 1 month, sales exceeded 30 million, supporting over 100 factories. Many investors see the potential and are actively approaching us for partnerships and funding. We originally planned to go public in 3 years, but now we've done it in a year and a half. I went all in, signing up lesser-known artists for live stream sales, and occasionally bringing in a top-tier celebrity to boost hype. It cost a lot, but the results were phenomenal. My company quickly became the hottest in the live streaming industry, with 3 months of profit matching a public company's annual total. Many companies also set their sights on this lucrative market and jumped into live stream sales, but it was too late. The status of the 3 top-tier streamers I had cultivated was already unshakable. Even Qin Huai noticed the live streaming market and proactively asked me out to dinner. Since I had always set up this company under my best friend's name, he didn't know it was me, but that didn't stop me from turning him down 3 times in a row. This was the first time Qin Huai had ever felt so utterly humiliated in her life, and all that rage was immediately unleashed on her sister. But that wasn't the final straw for her sister. It was when her nephew, late at night, tried to stab her in the eye with a fork that she finally had her terrifying epiphany. She fled the hospital, screaming hysterically, "He's a demon. He wasn't trying to blind me. He was trying to kill me. I just happened to wake up and dodge it." Divorce. I want a divorce from Qin Huai. I'm never going back. They'll kill me. They really will. That whole family. Every single one of them. They're all devils. Mom, Dad, please save me. I don't want to die. But Qin Huai himself led people to drag her back, smiling chillingly as he said, "Mom and Dad, don't listen to my wife's nonsense. She's just been exhausted taking care of the baby these past few days. A good night's sleep back home is all she needs." 10. Her parents' lips trembled, wanting to speak up for her, but seeing the menacing bodyguards behind him, their outstretched hands slowly retreated. Faced with overwhelming power, they chose self-preservation. My sister knelt before me, clutching my leg and sobbing hysterically, "Sister, let's switch places. You go to the Qin family, okay? The richest man originally wanted you anyway. I won't fight you for anything anymore. All of this is yours. I don't want anything. I just want to live. Please, big sister, please, I'll kowtow to you." With that, she started frantically kowtowing to me, her forehead instantly stained red with blood. Qin Huai narrowed his eyes, scrutinizing me. "Oh, so it was supposed to be your sister marrying me." Now that I had the power to stand up to him, I naturally didn't shy away from his gaze. I simply smiled faintly and said, "My uncle did indeed have that idea at the time." He licked his lips. "Actually, what your sister just said isn't entirely unreasonable. If you're willing to come home with me and be my wife, I'll let your sister go home." A spark instantly ignited in my sister's eyes. "Sister," I scoffed. "Sister, you're dreaming. You said you'd never regret it, and now it's too late to change your mind. You're always such a coward. The person who bullies you is right there, yet all you do is beg on your knees for your life. You're like a dog, wagging its tail and begging for scraps. Even a dog, when pushed too far, knows to bark and bite. But you don't dare to do anything. What a pathetic waste." My sister's eyes were filled with ferocity as she suddenly sprang to her feet, pulled a dagger from her pocket, and lunged at me. I was prepared. Grabbing Qin Huai beside me as a shield, I watched her dagger plunge deep into his abdomen. It all happened in a flash. The bodyguards finally sprang into action, restraining my sister while rushing Qin Huai to the hospital. The living room was suddenly empty except for my parents, me, and the pool of blood staining the floor as they dragged my sister away. Her eyes brimmed with utter despair. My parents, completely lost and trembling, asked me, "What about Shiyu? Qin Huai won't retaliate against us, will he?" I pulled out my phone and sneered, "Of course he will. What do you expect?" They collapsed onto the floor in shock, while I called my secretary. "All right, you can go ahead, hand over all that evidence directly to the tax bureau, take the victims to the police station to file their reports, and make sure the news media follows up. Their stock will plummet starting tomorrow. Tell the shareholders not to touch Qin's stock. No matter how low it drops, we want to buy it for even less after. They declare bankruptcy. After I hung up, my parents looked at me, utterly bewildered, and asked, Shiyu, what on earth were you just talking about? We didn't understand a word. I just smiled and pointed at the TV. You'll understand in a bit. 11. Breaking news. Mr. Qin Huai, son of the city's wealthiest man, has been reported for alleged rape of a minor and murder. He has been taken into police custody for investigation. Just in, Mr. Qin Jianhua, the city's richest man, has been formally accused of tax evasion, illegal smuggling, and violent assault spanning many years. He is currently under police investigation. The Qin group was exposed for forced demolitions, with demolition crews consisting entirely of gang members who repeatedly assaulted villagers. The footage has now gone viral. This series of scandals has thrust the Qin group into the eye of the storm, with both managing directors arrested. Panic instantly spread through the organization. Every streamer at our company has been discussing this nonstop for days, turning public opinion into the final nail in their coffin. With our added pressure, Qin stock prices have been plummeting uncontrollably. No one could have imagined the city's reigning king would plummet from the heights to the gutters overnight. My sister and nephew were sent back, while the rest of the Qin family had already fled with their valuables. That household was rotten to the core. It was my first time seeing my nephew, towering over other children his age, his face expressionless but eyes brimming with ferocity. One look was all it took to know my sister's life was ruined. Qin Huai was sentenced to 16 years, and his father received a life sentence. He'll never see the light of day again. Qin's group declared bankruptcy, and I acquired it for a ridiculously low price. The view from the 36th floor is truly magnificent, looking down at the people below, who seem smaller than ants. When I work late into the night, I can see the bright moon, but by the time the sun rises in the morning, it's already shrouded in clouds. No wonder so many people are desperate to climb to the top. The view truly is more beautiful up here. Just as I became the city's first female billionaire, I received a letter from Qin Huai written from prison. Shiyu, I've been reborn too. No wonder my heart raced when I first saw you at the wedding. You were always my true prey. What a pity I only regained my memories now. Had it been sooner, things would have been far more interesting. Honestly, you're much more delightful than your sister, and far better suited to be my pet. A mere 16 years, with good behavior. I'll be out soon. Aren't you looking forward to our reunion? Do visit when you can, unless you'd prefer I remind you how persuasive I can be. I scoffed, tossing it into the trash without a second thought, then dialed my secretary. I forgot to tell you something earlier. Find a few people to take good care of Qin Huai and his son in prison. Make their lives a living hell. Understood, Mr. Zhou. Scum like them deserve to live a life worse than death. I was planning to deal with them after I finished my current tasks, but they just delivered themselves right to me. My secretary is my confidant, incredibly perceptive. Every 2 weeks, she brings me videos of the father and son. The once arrogant and untouchable richest man and his heir now specialize in kneeling and barking like dogs, all to avoid another beating. Qin Huai contracted a full-blown STD, losing his last shred of worth and plummeting to the lowest rung of existence. 6 months later, he tried to commit suicide with a sharpened toothbrush and was rushed to the hospital. That very night, he showed up in my garden. He bared his yellowed teeth in a chilling, eerie smile. A smile, finally, spread across the billionaire's face, a smile that left one pondering its true meaning. I'll sit. I know you're behind all of this, destroying my company, destroying me, but it doesn't matter. I love you, and I choose to forgive you. I sipped my coffee elegantly. Care to guess why I'm sitting here in the dead of night? Because I've been waiting for you. He froze for just a second before chuckling. You truly are the most entertaining prey I've ever hunted. You always did understand me. He advanced slowly, a gleaming kitchen knife at his waist. When he was just 2 steps away, I snapped my fingers. A pack of black hounds erupted from the shadows, their razor-sharp fangs tearing into him with savage fury. A look of panic flashed across his face, and he shrieked, "Help me!" So even a beast like him cries for help when he's scared. The well-trained hounds won't kill him. They'll just leave him to linger in a living hell. I poured the pre-soaked salt water over him, and he writhed on the ground, screaming in agony. You really think you got lucky enough to just waltz out of here? Truth be told, it's tricky for me to make a move while you're inside. At most, I can make your life miserable, but you know damn well I want you to suffer worse than death. Don't worry, you won't die. At dawn, I'll call the cops. With injuries this severe, they'll have no choice but to ship you off to a sanatorium. Don't say I never cared. I even opened a special sanatorium just for you. Remember what you did to me back then? I'll repay you 100-fold. 12. Everything was going according to my plan. Qin Huai regretted getting out, because he realized prison was paradise. He confessed and apologized to me countless times, and I just sat there, smiling, sipping my tea and reading, his tormented groans serving as a pleasant backdrop. One of them finally died, either the sister or her nephew with supermale syndrome. The nephew locked his aunt in the room and set it on fire. Had it not been for a passing neighbor who called the fire department, the sister would have burned alive that very night. The sister dismembered her nephew and boiled his remains in a large pot. The sister lost her mind and was committed to a psychiatric facility, so my daily dose of entertainment just got a little boost, because even though my sister's lost her mind, she still remembers Chin Huai and constantly schemes to torment him. One time, she even cut a piece of flesh from his thigh, roasted it, and forced it into his mouth. That's just too disgusting. I finally couldn't stomach it anymore. Time for me to focus on my career and let them keep each other company in there sitting in a sports car, enjoying the free summer breeze, and basking in the admiring gazes of young men. My life is just beginning. Story 2, after my best friend reincarnated, she stole my system. You only lived better than me because you bound with a system. This time, I'll reclaim everything that belongs to me. I remained silent. Does she even know that I'm bound to a love-struck brain system? The kind where pitying men brings a lifetime of bad luck. One moment ago, I was standing on the awards podium, holding Jiang Yu's hand, the enviable CEO's wife in everyone's eyes. Then in a flash of white light, I returned to my college days when every penny had to be stretched thin. But after a dazed moment, I couldn't contain my wild joy. Heavens, I've finally gotten rid of that brain-dead system. No more trailing after men, asking this and that, spending money and effort, being a tear-jerking simp. The timing of my rebirth was quite fortuitous. In just a few minutes, I'll be on my way back to the dormitory, when I pick up the system that would change my life. But this time, I decided to take a different path. Just kidding, being a simp for one lifetime is disgusting enough. Who would want to do it for two? I turned my head, ready to share this good news with my dear best friendly Nua, only to find her staring at me with an unpleasant expression. Her eyes flickered with complex emotions like ecstasy, resentment, and anger. I reached out and touched her head, asking, Nua, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell somewhere? Unexpectedly, she immediately swatted my hand away. The force was so strong that my hand turned red instantly. Nua, Chen Nua seemed to finally react, apologizing to me. Sorry meow. I wasn't feeling well just now. I didn't mean to. I expressed concern. Are you okay? Should I accompany you to the infirmary after class? She shook her head, forcing a smile. It's fine, I'll go by myself. Just then, the class bell rang. But I'm not really at ease leaving you like this. Before I could finish speaking, Chen Nua threw out of "See you at the dorm" and dashed off with his backpack. Thinking of Chen Nua's recent behavior, I hesitated but ultimately followed her. For some reason, I always feel her emotions are unstable right now. If I don't follow, I'm afraid something might happen. The hallway was crowded with people who had just finished class. Even though I came out just 1 minute later than Chen Nua, there was still a distance of nearly 7 or 8 meters between us. With so many people in between, I couldn't very well call out to her. I had no choice but to quietly follow her, planning to wait until we reached a more open space to speak. But unexpectedly, Chen Nua wasn't heading toward the infirmary at all. The direction she was walking became increasingly familiar, more and more familiar, so familiar that several times I wanted to call out to her, but couldn't make a sound. I watched her walk to that remote corner and pick up the faintly glowing blue system with a look of relief. I felt like all the blood in my body was rushing backward. At that moment, she happened to turn around and meet my gaze. Both of us froze too. After a long pause, I asked with a trembling voice, Nua, did you also get reborn? Why are you taking this system? Chen Nua hung her head, flustered as she hid the system behind her back. Without speaking, I took a few steps forward, wanting to persuade her to put down that system. As long as the system hasn't bound itself to her body, everything can still be salvaged. Nua, quickly throw it away. This is absolutely not a good thing. It will make you lose yourself in front of men and lead you to eternal damnation. Chen Nua suddenly looked up and smiled. Su Miao, you call becoming the lofty president's wife eternal damnation? Doesn't your conscience ache at all? I froze. It's not like that. Didn't I tell you before? After binding with this system, I haven't been happy at all. This kind of life where my heart and eyes only have one man, sacrificing everything for love, is absolutely not what I wanted. But this is what I want, Chen Nua shouted, his expression tinged with madness. Su Miao, just admit it. No matter how much you look down on this system, it's precisely because of this system that you got to know Jiang Yu and lived a privileged life. We used to be so similar in every way, similar grades, similar family backgrounds, similar looks. But because of this system, your life kept getting better. You met someone as impressive as Jiang Yu and even married him, while I've been stuck in place all this time, never even managing to find a decent man. I couldn't believe it and said hurtfully, Nua, so this is how you've always thought of me." Chen Nua interrupted me. "Enough, stop pretending to be sisterly affectionate with me here. In our past life, I was clearly the one who saw this system first. You just picked it up before I did. This system should have been mine from the start. You stole my life, and now, I'm just taking back what's rightfully mine." I stared at her blankly. For the first time, I felt that Chen Nua, who grew up with me and attended university together, had become so unfamiliar. I was still trying to explain to her, "This really isn't a good system. After binding, it'll turn you into a love-obsessed airhead who only thinks about men." Chen Nua's tone grew increasingly impatient. "What's wrong with being love-obsessed? As long as I gain love and power, what does it matter if I lose myself?" She mercilessly crushed the glowing orb, binding the system. Then she shoved past me and left. Watching her retreating figure, I was suddenly overwhelmed with sorrow. But this love-obsessed system would cost more than just oneself. 3. After that day, no matter how I explained to Chen Nua or listed the dangers of this love-obsessed system, she turned a deaf ear. Instead, she concluded that I was the stumbling block on her path to success. Not only did she block all my contact methods, but she even contacted the counselor to change dorm rooms. Meanwhile, she began spending her limited living expenses on cosmetics, clothes, and weight loss. Several times, I saw her in the hallway splitting a single instant noodle pack into 2 meals, looking frighteningly thin. At that moment, I knew I was powerless to change anything, because I had experienced all of this in my previous life. The first step of the love-addicted system, rationalizing sacrifices beyond one's capacity, portraying all this as self-improvement, enhancing one's own capabilities, completely ignoring whether one can bear it, or whether the task subject is even worth it. It's like walking across a vast, flat plain that's riddled with swamps, appearing to lead to heaven, but in reality heading straight for hell. Now all I can hope is that Chen Nua's chosen target is a good person until the day of the school sports meet, when I saw Chen Nua and Jiang Yu kissing in public to celebrate his first place victory. I fell silent. My eyes met Chen Nua's across the crowded space. She gave me a provocative glance, then wrapped her arms around Jiang Yu's neck, deepening the kiss. The onlookers erupted in loud cheers and teasing. I quietly watched Chen Nua, watched them. Suddenly, everything became clear and I saw through it all. It turns out I was just being sentimental all along. Wanted to save Chen Nua. Actually, she was thoroughly enjoying herself. In that case, why should I bother with her anymore? I left the playground. Little did I expect Chen Nua to come looking for me. She crossed her arms, her tone triumphant. The corner of her mouth still bore the lipstick mark Jiang Yu had smeared. "How about it? Now I'm the female lead with the system. Have you finally come to understand my resentment and anger?" I hung my head, not wanting to engage with her. After all, we were childhood friends, even if we've gone our separate ways. I wanted to preserve the last shred of dignity between us, but Chen Nua didn't see it that way. She mistook my tolerance for cowardice and silent consent. She blocked my path, chattering incessantly. "Now you understand how great the system is, don't you? Only by possessing the system can you become the protagonist of life, the center of the world, the focus of all attention. Otherwise, you'll end up like me in the past and you now. No matter what you do, you can't change your own fate." I looked up and interrupted her. "Chen Nua, I have no regrets. Compared to being the protagonist, I prefer being myself. At least my fate is in my own hands, not subject to others' manipulation." Chen Nua choked for a moment, then snorted coldly. "It better be so." I watched her quietly without speaking. After a long pause, she frowned again and said, "The gala rehearsal is about to start. Meow meow. Be sensible and don't disturb me and Jiang Yu." In my past life, Jiang Yu and I met during the gala rehearsal. The boy who was supposed to perform in the stage play with me broke his leg playing basketball, and the substitute couldn't make it either. The teacher was about to cancel the performance and reassign me to another group. Then, Jiang Yu appeared. He leaned against the wall and casually knocked on the dance studio door. After capturing everyone's attention, he raised an eyebrow and asked, "Teacher, do you think I'm suitable to be the male lead?" At that time, Chen Nua beside me whispered to me, "Meow meow. Don't you think he really resembles the male protagonist from a novel world?" I nodded silently because the moment Jiang Yu appeared, I heard the voice of the romance brain system. "Since the host has delayed in selecting a target to pursue, the system will automatically bind Jiang Yu for you shortly. Binding successful. Please strive to complete tasks and achieve a perfect ending for..." "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Chen Nua's voice snapped me back to reality. I let out a sigh of relief. Thankfully, that was all in a past life. Not receiving my reply for a long time, Chen Nua grew somewhat anxious. Su Miao, what do you mean by this? I responded indifferently. Nothing much, you're free to do as you please, but you can't control me either. Chen Nua's expression changed immediately. In this lifetime, I am Jiang Yu's destined one. You can't win against me. I neither agreed nor disagreed, ready to leave, but after some thought, decided to warn her. Jiang Yu isn't a good person, be careful. Without exaggeration, in my past life, I almost became Jiang Yu's blood bag. Not only provide material value, but also emotional value. Even my own mother isn't this considerate. Chen Nua, however, smiled. She looked me up and down, her words dripping with pride and boastfulness. Su Miao, I thought you really didn't care about Jiang Yu. Turns out it was all an act. I always said you were together with him for so many years. How could you have no feelings at all? After a pause, she added, but unfortunately, Jiang Yu is my boyfriend now, and he'll be my husband in the future. In this lifetime, don't even think about taking him away from me. I suggest you stay in the dorm during rehearsals and stop trying to flirt with him. I listened quietly and smiled. If you truly believe you're Jiang Yu's destined one, why would you be afraid of me? After all, what truly belongs to you can never be taken away. Isn't that right? Chen Nua's expression changed drastically, filled with anger and panic. Why, you're talking nonsense. I just don't want things to get too ugly between everyone. I ignored her and left. Chen Nua reminded me of something. I really should start preparing for the evening rehearsal, but not for Jiang Yu, it's for myself. There's something at the party that I'm determined to get. 5. There's one thing Chen Nua never knew. Jiang Yu is actually the illegitimate child of a wealthy family in his previous life. At a banquet, Jiang Yu recognized his grandfather among the guests and had an emotional breakdown. He revealed to me his tragic childhood story of being abandoned by his scumbag father from a wealthy family, and his mother raising him alone in despair. In the end, he swore fiercely that he would make his scumbag father pay the price. Under the moonlight, Jiang Yu's eyes were slightly red, but his tone was firm. With the filter of the love-struck brain system, my affection surged and sympathy overflowed, so I decided to help him. So I painstakingly inquired about the preferences of the Jiang family patriarch. Deliberately scheming, I engineered countless chance encounters. After finally getting familiar with Grandpa Jiang, I coincidentally saved his life. This earned Jiang Yu a chance to return to his wealthy family. Because of this, a long scar was left on my calf. To protect Jiang Yu's dignity and reputation, I never even told him about this incident. Instead, she kept a low profile and remained the perfect girlfriend who revolved around Jiang Yu. 247. The poor campus heartthrob boyfriend suddenly transformed into a wealthy young master. Everyone, including Jiang Yu and Chen Nua, thought I'd hit the jackpot. Only I knew it was all the result of my hard work. And this is the terrifying second step of the love-obsessed system, giving unreservedly without expecting anything in return. What appears to be a moving and beautiful love story actually only moves oneself in others' eyes. It's not only worthless but even makes you a laughingstock. Just kidding. I've already saved the life of a wealthy tycoon. Why should I help Jiang Yu return to his wealthy family? If he wants to go home, can't he beg for it himself? Is my life not valuable? Why wouldn't I want to build this wealthy family myself? Isn't it appealing? I let out a faint sigh. Once again, I marvel at the horror of the love-obsessed system. Indeed, love blinds people. Sympathizing with men brings a lifetime of bad luck. This time, I must firmly grasp this opportunity with Grandpa Jiang. Truly and genuinely change my own destiny. Following Grandpa Jiang's preferences from my past life, I began preparing the performance for the evening event. When I volunteered to perform sand painting, the teacher in charge of the evening party lightly furrowed her brows. Without hesitation, I brought out my tools and started painting right away. With deft strokes on the board, waves, coastlines, beaches, and flying birds came to life on the paper. The teacher's frown gradually eased. I grabbed another handful of sand and drew a perfectly round sun in the upper left corner of the picture. It's strange, it was just the simplest yellow sand, yet I could see the crimson hue of a rising sun in it. Not bad, very vibrant. It fits the uplifting theme of our school anniversary. The teacher approved my program and patted my shoulder, encouraging me to do well. I lowered my head to look at the sun again and smiled faintly. I have a feeling this will be my rebirth. 6. When Chen Nua saw me at the rehearsal venue, his facial features twisted in shock. She didn't even bother to explain to Jiang Yu, just dragged me straight to the bathroom and said through gritted teeth, "Didn't you say you wouldn't come?" I raised an eyebrow. When did I ever say I wasn't coming? At most, I remember promising you that I wouldn't interfere with your stage play, right? Chen Nua choked up, her expression extremely grim. She opened her mouth. "I'm warning you," I interrupted her. "Chen Nua, I'm not interested in him. You don't need to see me as an imaginary enemy either. In my past life, it was purely because of the system binding that I had to be with him, who you choose. For the mission is your business, it has nothing to do with me. Chinua studied my expression carefully. After realizing I was serious, she let out a sigh of relief. She grabbed my hand and forced a smile. Meow meow, it's not that I don't trust you. After all, we've been such good sisters for so many years. I'm just a little worried. I'm too eager to climb up, too eager to succeed, too eager to have an unconditional love. You understand me, don't you? I quietly watched her once. I thought she was another version of me in this world. We came from the same remote small town. We both had fathers who were domestic abusers, mothers who were timid and yielding, and unruly younger brothers. Most of the time, our exam rankings were right next to each other, and even our college entrance exam scores were only a point or two apart. We worked part-time jobs together and saved up enough for tuition together. We dragged our suitcases onto the Greenskin train late at night. Let's escape from that suffocating home together. Let's come to the dream university together. I thought we would be best friends for life. Apparently, that was just my wishful thinking. I don't know since when. Chinua and I have been drifting apart. Perhaps, as she said, this isn't solely her fault. It's just a pity. I gently withdrew my hand from Chinua's grasp and said calmly, my understanding doesn't matter. Chinua. I looked straight into her eyes. From now on, we'll each have to walk our own paths. Under my gaze, Chinua's face visibly paled. Meow meow. What do you mean? I averted my gaze and pointed at Jiang Yu approaching down the hallway. Your boyfriend's here to pick you up. Let's go. I still couldn't understand why Chinua would pin all her hopes on a man from beginning to end. The only person we can truly rely on is ourselves. Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. We've finally reached the crossroads of life. It's time to say goodbye. 7. In the previous life, the first place winner of the evening gala could receive a 30,000 yuan reward sponsored by the Jiang family and an internship opportunity at Jiang Corporation. This is exactly what I want. I refuse to be the virtuous housewife standing behind a successful man. I want to shine brightly on stage myself, as a successful woman. So, I took rehearsals very seriously. Watching sand silently slip through my fingers, transforming into images in my mind, is a truly magical feeling, very stress-relieving and comfortable because I was spacing out. I didn't react when Jiang Yu squatted in front of me. He smiled at me. You're Nuonyua's friend, right? I didn't want to be associated with Jiang Yu, so I calmly said, we're just ordinary classmates. Jiang Yu smiled even more deeply. Well then, shall we get acquainted? I've been noticing you for a while now. I frowned. What do you mean by that? Jiang Yu froze momentarily, then struck what he thought was a handsome pose before continuing. No particular meaning. I just think you look beautiful when painting and wanted to get to know you. I calmly packed my things and stood up. Sorry, I don't want to know you. Jiang Yu grabbed me. Hey classmate, don't be so cold, I retorted. Chinua is your girlfriend, right? Jiang Yu replied frankly, yes, so what? He came to his senses and suddenly said, she doesn't have to be my girlfriend. I ignored him and walked away without looking back. As I left, I saw Chinua at the corner. Her eyes were blazing with anger. As if she wanted to tear me apart, she rushed over, knocked over my tools, grabbed my collar and yelled, Su Miao, I told you to stay away from Jiang Yu. I frowned. I'm telling you, people who think you're the main characters in some romance drama, could you stay away from us NPCs who just want to live our lives in peace? These past few days have been packed with rehearsals and final exam prep to get that scholarship. My head's about to explode. I was already annoyed to begin with. I can't bear to be the third wheel in your earth-shattering love story anymore. Chinua doesn't care whether I'm annoying or not. She's still going on and on. She's hurled every insult imaginable. Shameless, two-faced, hypocritical scoundrel. Even people rehearsing in other classrooms came out to poke their heads and join the excitement. Holy crap, what's going on here? Shocking scoop. The school heartthrob is actually a scumbag. I couldn't take it anymore and directly pulled out. Jiang Yu, who was trying to sneak away from the corner. Jiang Yu, explain to your girlfriend yourself what's really going on. Jiang Yu's face turned green. How could the campus heartthrob who basks in flowers and praise handle such a situation? After stammering for a while, he suddenly said, sorry Nuonyuo, it was classmate Su who asked me to come. I really don't know what she wanted. Chinua wore an expression that said I knew it. 8. The onlookers gasped in shock. I truly never expected Jiang Yu to be this shameless. I couldn't help but laugh. Are you trying to scam me here? Fine, then let me show you what it means to reap what you sow. I silently took out my phone and pressed play. Then, with a smile to Jiang Yu, whose face had changed dramatically, I said, classmate, sorry about this. I have a habit of recording beautiful moments, and I usually film a video while painting. You wouldn't sue me for invading your privacy, would you? After all, you're the one who came over here. On screen, Jiangyu swaggers into the classroom like he owns the place, spouting outdated pickup lines right next to me. That line, "She doesn't have to be my girlfriend," was recorded with unusual clarity. My silence is deafening. For a moment, the narrow corridor fell into complete silence. Everyone looked at Chen Nua with sympathy in their eyes. Someone whispered, "I never expected the school heartthrob to be this kind of person." "Oh well, handsome guys like this usually play around, haven't you heard? 9 out of 10 handsome guys are players, and the 10th is at a gay bar. LOL. Chen Nua was thunderstruck, staring fixedly at the phone in my hand. "Impossible. This can't be." I shrugged. "Believe it or not, can I leave now? I still need to rush back for my part-time job." Chen Nua looked at Jiangyu. He was still being stubborn. "No, Nua, let me explain." Chen Nua broke down. "Explain my ass. I worked 3 jobs to buy you AJs, and I couldn't even afford one meat and one vegetable dish for my meals. Everything you wear, use, eat, and drink. Which of these didn't come from my scrimping and saving? How dare you cheat on me?" The onlookers were stunned. "Holy crap, no way. Is Jiangyu a freeloader? This girl is so pitiful. Scumbag deserves to die." I shook my head. Left. What kind of logic is it that just by binding to a system, one can become the protagonist? Even with a system, effort is still required to reap rewards. In his previous life, Jiangyu wasn't without instances of infidelity, but when I complained to Chen Nua, she believed it was because I wasn't good or considerate enough that Jiangyu strayed. She advised me to be kind and generous, using sincerity to win him over. With my love-struck mind, I believed it, returning good for evil, diligent and earnest, like Jiangyu's personal caretaker. Chena wasn't unaware of these things, but it seemed she had forgotten them all, stubbornly believing that I could effortlessly become the privileged CEO's wife since she thinks I'm blocking her path to wealth. I might as well stop interfering. One doesn't know the pain until the knife cuts their own flesh. Why isn't Chen Nua now advising herself that it's because she wasn't considerate enough that Jiangyu would cheat? Rumor has it that Jiangyu and Chen Nua eventually reconciled. 9. Jiangyu swore he would change, and Chen Nua believed him. After all, there's still that love-struck system in place. I'm not surprised, but I never expected to see Chen Nua at the restaurant where I worked part-time. She was also there for a part-time job without the disguise of makeup. Wearing the most ordinary clothes, she looked even more haggard. Seeing me, she froze for a moment, then gave a faint smile. "Meow meow, you're here." I quietly stepped further away from her, but Chen Nua still leaned in and said on her own, "I've already made things clear with Jiangyu. He said that day he was just curious about what my good friend looked like, so he went to see you. Now he realizes it was wrong to privately contact his girlfriend's best friend, and he won't do it again." After a pause, she then accused me. "Couldn't you have waited to tell me this trivial matter when no one was around? You just had to play that video in front of everyone." Now Jiangyu hasn't dared to leave his dorm for classes recently, but it's fine. Staying in the dorm is good for him. He can get some proper rest for a while. After all that rehearsal, he's exhausted. After finishing this job, I'll have just enough to add another dish for him. Silence. I remained silent for a long time. Chen Nua, under the control of her love-struck system, has become completely unreasonable. I couldn't help but start to reminisce. Did I say something like this in my past life too? It seems so. I shuddered violently. This unconditional indulgence means paying for others' mistakes. Still trying to convince myself to believe all of this. It's absolutely terrifying. I glanced sorrowfully at the dazed Chen Nua, like seeing my former self. Noticing my gaze, Chen Nua leaned in closer. "Meow meow. When do you think Jiangyu will be recognized by the Jiang family in this lifetime?" I remember it was about a month after the school anniversary gala in the previous life. She gave a smile. "How wonderful. Just over a month more, and I'll have everything I want." In the end, she glanced at me as if bestowing charity. "Don't worry too much either. After all, we've been good sisters for so many years. When the time comes, I definitely won't treat you unfairly, unlike your previous life, where you didn't give me any benefits at all. How about it? Am I being considerate enough?" These words successfully dispelled the fleeting sense of pity I had just begun to feel. The scene of me advising her not to pick up this system's interface is still vivid in my mind. This is the path Chen Nua chose for herself. What right do I have to sympathize? I shook my head and went about my own business. Soon it was the day of the school anniversary gala. 10. I got everything ready and waited backstage. Jiangyu's performance was scheduled right before mine, standing right in front of me at this moment. The recent scandal about him being a jerk doesn't seem to have affected him much. Everyone's just here for the drama. When the hype fades, the crowd disperses. Now he's chatting with the person next to him without a care in the world. Suddenly, he looked up in my direction with a heavy gaze. There's something seriously off about that look. I was taken aback. Before I could think further, Chenhua suddenly grabbed me pitifully. Meow meow, my stomach hurts a bit, could you accompany me to the restroom to check? Her face was deathly pale, beyond what blush could conceal, remembering her menstrual pain issues. I hesitated for a moment before finally nodding in agreement. In the restroom, Chenhua clutched her stomach and said weakly, "Thank you, meow meow." I turned my head away without responding. Chenhua wasn't annoyed either, walking out leisurely, watching her unsteady figure. I couldn't help saying, "If it really hurts too much, just skip the performance, there are understudies anyway." Chenhua didn't stop walking, murmuring softly, "No, I won't let anyone take Jiangyu from me." Chenhua's performance was fairly successful. It's my turn to go on stage. I took a deep breath and walked onto the stage, accompanied by gentle background music and narration. The sand transformed freely in my hands. Suddenly, I frowned. In the clean, soft sand, there inexplicably appeared some white powder. Where did these things come from? I had a vague sense of foreboding in my heart, but I've already stepped onto the stage to perform, and now there's no way I can call for a stop. Suppressing the unease in my heart, I began to paint earnestly. "Su meow, go for it. This is your most efficient and convenient opportunity to change your fate. Success is the only option. Failure is not permitted." Gradually, my hand that came into contact with the powder grew increasingly itchy. "I know what that is, talcum powder. I'm allergic to talcum powder ever since I was a child. Whenever I come into contact with talcum powder for more than 2 minutes, I immediately develop rashes all over my body and experience unbearable itching. The worst time, I almost went into shock, and only 2 people know about my talcum powder allergy. One is Jiangyu from our past life together, the other one is Chenhua." For a moment, I couldn't even tell which was more agonizing, the pain of betrayal or the bone-deep itching in my hands. I clenched my teeth tightly, resisting the urge to scratch. With trembling hands, I struggled to complete the sand painting. I forcibly shortened the 8-minute performance to 5 minutes. Even so, after stepping off stage, I couldn't hold on any longer and fainted. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. 11, meow meow, you're awake. Chenhua's eyes were full of concern, but all I could see was her hypocrisy. I closed my eyes briefly. "Why are you here? I don't want to see you." Chenhua wanted to grab my hand. Seeing it smeared with ointment, he abruptly changed course. He grabbed the blanket I was covered with. "Meow meow, I'm sorry, but Jiangyu told me he absolutely must win first place this time. You're too amazing. He was afraid he couldn't compete with you. That's why he asked for my help." "Meow meow, I'm truly so sorry. You can hit me or scold me. I won't fight back at all." "Enough." I interrupted her impatiently. I had no intention of arguing with her about Jiangyu. All I could think was how she'd attacked my weakness over a man. I was even more furious than when I discovered she chose Jiangyu, because this can no longer be explained by the love-struck system. Even in my previous life, when I was controlled by the love-struck system for 5 years, I never did anything to harm Chenhua. Not only did she ignore my warnings, she insisted on binding with the system. Now she's even turning around to stab me in the back. My chest heaved violently. Anger burned like a flame within me. "Chenhua, get out of my hospital room right now. This instant. I never want to see you again. From this moment on, all ties between us are severed." Chenhua stared in disbelief, his eyes wide with shock. "Meow meow, you're actually cutting ties with me over such a trivial matter. All you lost was first place, but what Jiangyu stands to lose is his bright future." I turned my head away. "Then go guard his bright future. Don't come looking for me again." With that, I pressed the nurse call button. "Hello, someone here is disturbing my rest. Could you come check?" Chenhua was reluctantly driven away by the nurse. Before leaving, her eyes were filled with aggrieved tears as she looked at me. I used to fall for her tricks all the time. No matter what the conflict was, I'd always give in when she started crying, because I thought we might be the 2 people who knew each other best in this world. It's not easy to find such a like-minded friend. I don't want to lose her, and now Chenhua has crossed my bottom line. I can't tolerate it anymore. I took out a note from my pocket. What's written above are some of Grandpa Zhang's hobbies and places he usually visits. I originally wanted to remind Chenhua Jiangyu wouldn't be recognized by the wealthy family without reason. Now it seems unnecessary. I expressionlessly threw the note into the trash can. During these days I was hospitalized. 12. The teacher in charge of rehearsals brought good news. I'm still in first place. The sponsor, Jiang Corporation, acknowledged my dedication to completing the performance despite having an itchy hand. They offered me the opportunity to intern at Jiang Corporation. Although I didn't win the tens of thousands in prize money, I'm still very content with what I got. As for Chenhua and Jiangyu, I certainly won't let them off either. After asking the nurse to help take photos of my hands covered in rashes, I called the police. I knew this wouldn't be enough to put Jiangyu and Chen Nua behind bars, but I must teach them a lesson, let them know I'm not someone to be bullied unexpectedly. Grandpa Jiang came to see me too. He said he'd secretly watched our rehearsals several times and thought I was very diligent, although there were some minor hiccups during my performance at the party. Overall it went quite smoothly. He invited me to intern at his art company essentially. It's the prize for winning first place at the party. I was flattered beyond measure. I never expected Grandpa Jiang to come in person. This is such an unexpected delight. With this, my internship is practically confirmed. The next goal is to secure a formal offer from Jiang Corporation. I want to stay in the big city and fight for my own life, not just someone's wife or girlfriend. I am my own person. After that day, I didn't see Jiang Yu and Chen Nua for a long time. Just when I thought this matter would pass and they would completely disappear from my life, I was kidnapped by Jiang Yu. When I opened my eyes, I saw Jiang Yu sitting across from me. 13. He was hanging his head, lost in thought. I took a look around, realized this must be the abandoned teaching building in the old campus because it's a familiar environment. I wasn't flustered. Jiang Yu, have you lost your mind? Jiang Yu smiled faintly, wearing the exact same expression as when he domestically abused me in my past life. His voice was sickeningly sweet as he touched my cheek. Meow meow. How am I crazy? In our past life, wasn't I always like this? My pupils constricted. Jiang Yu, he has also been reborn. Suppressing the discomfort in my heart, I forced myself to play dumb. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Aren't you Chen Nua's boyfriend? What does that have to do with me? Jiang Yu let out a mocking laugh. Oh dear, my girlfriend won't acknowledge me. It really makes me sad, but it's okay. Meow meow. I know you're angry about me being with Chen Nua. Don't worry, she's not as capable as you. In my heart, you'll always be number one. All you need to do is help me return to the Jiang family. I promise you, when the time comes, you'll be my only wife. I'll give you everything you desire, unreserved devotion, power, status, all that you could wish for. Seeing Jiang Yu's expression that said, you love me so much, how could you refuse me, and you're getting the better deal by agreeing, I choked up. No way, seriously, he doesn't actually think he's charming, does he? A man's greatest charm comes from the opposite sex's imagination. Without that love-struck system binding me, why should I give you a second glance? There are plenty of guys more attractive than you. Why should I give up the entire forest for a single crooked tree? I was just about to tear into him. Chen Nua suddenly appeared out of nowhere, holding a knife with a terrifying expression. She didn't even glance at me, charging straight towards Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu stumbled backward in fear, stammering incoherently, Nua, wh what are you doing? Chen Nua forced him back into the corner. Jiang Yu, I love you so much, yet you treat me like a dog. Since you refuse to be with me, let's die together then. As she spoke, she moved to stab Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu was completely stunned. At the critical moment, the blaring sirens approached from afar. The police are here. Actually, I had long suspected that Jiang Yu might have remembered something too. His inexplicable approach and obscure gaze before the performance were both highly suspicious. 14. That's why I had long prepared a small alarm and a miniature camera to prevent him from being driven to desperate measures and taking me down with him. But I never expected Chen Nua to be this insane as well. After the police released me, I looked at Chen Nua being escorted away with mixed emotions. Her facial expression was unpredictable. When she saw me, there was a sudden moment of clarity in her eyes. A tear fell as she struggled to say, I'm sorry, meow meow, I was wrong. Has she broken free from the system's control? I rushed over excitedly. I was taken aback. Upon closer inspection, Chen Nua had reverted to that frenzied state again. She turned her head to look at Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu, see, even when captured, we're together. I am your destined one. You'll never get rid of me. I sighed. My heart ached with bitterness. Jiang Yu nearby was still going crazy, shouting, I'm the heir of the Jiang Corporation. You can't treat me like this. My grandpa is coming soon, and you'll regret it when he arrives. Of course, Grandpa Jiang didn't come to bail him out. In the end, Jiang Yu went to prison for kidnapping. Being a simp for a man is disgusting enough for one lifetime. Who would do it for two? As for me, I went to intern at Jiang Corporation, relying on memories and abilities from my past life. I successfully secured a full-time offer. I also earned a small sum through sand painting live streams online. I paid the down payment for a small apartment of my own in the big city. Occasionally, I would go visit her. She sat by the bedside, her eyes vacant, murmuring, I am the protagonist of this world. I sighed softly. Even now, she still doesn't understand, whether there's a system or not, everything must be achieved through one's own hands. The system can provide temporary shortcuts, but it cannot provide a lifetime. We can only rely on ourselves. Depend on mountains and they'll collapse. Depend on people and they'll flee. You are your own greatest support. The end. Story 2. After being beaten to death by domestic violence, I was reborn and returned to the age of 18. the year when I loved him the most. That year, with my hands in my pockets, I had never seen a more obsequious person than myself, but this time, that gloomy teenager who was isolated by the whole class grabbed my hand. His eyes were red as he said, "Ning Bao, don't like Heat Songwei, you will die." Heat Songwei's fist landed on my face without hesitation. My whole body was already in extreme pain, and my vision was stained red by my own blood. Even crying had become a luxury until Heat Songwei raised his foot and stomped heavily on my head. "Damn woman, if you like me, then die for me." I finally closed my eyes. My consciousness was in a momentary halt. I moved my fingers and found that the pain all over my body had disappeared. I opened my eyes suddenly. "Heat Songwei." I instinctively shouted out this name, but then I was stunned by the scene in front of me. There were row upon row of desks in front of me, and around me were all the familiar faces from my high school days. They looked at me in surprise, and some were even whispering to each other. On the podium in the front, the head teacher, Lao Hong, was frowning and looking at me. "Wait a minute, Lao Hong, didn't he die of illness a few years ago?" "Lu Yining, it's self-study now, what are you babbling about?" I looked down at myself and saw the school uniform of No. 5 middle school that I remembered deeply. I stretched out my hands, and there were no scars or bloodstains on them. The next second, I looked at the straight-backed figure in front of me. Heat Songwei in high school. He always sat in front of me. I reached out my hand in disbelief and patted him on the shoulder. That familiar face turned around, showing a vaguely familiar helpless expression. I covered my mouth in horror and let out a scream. After clearly seeing Heat Songwei's face, fear mixed with hatred welled up in my heart. This time I was finally able to confirm that everything in front of me was real. This was the year when I loved Heat Songwei the most, and it was also my long-lost 18th birthday too. The day when the college entrance examination ended always appeared in my mind. That day was the last time I confessed my love to Heat Songwei. I said, "Heat Songwei, I won't come to you anymore in the future. If you really can't like me, it doesn't matter. Let other boys take care of the matter of liking me." Heat Songwei showed a flustered look for the first time, and he grabbed my hand. "Lu Yining, you provoked me, and now you want to leave." Starting from that sentence, I, the obsequious one, became Heat Songwei's girlfriend. I thought that my long and lonely secret love had finally come to an end. Still in a daze, in the office, Lao Hong's angry shout brought me back to my senses. At this moment, Lao Hong was still that chubby guy, not like in that black and white photo, tortured by illness and so thin that he was unrecognizable. Although he was very strict, he was our favorite homeroom teacher. "Yining, you are all adolescent boys and girls. It's normal to have someone you like, but my advice to you is to focus on your studies at this stage. Your future is more important than anyone else's." If it were before, I would definitely not have taken these words to heart. Before, Lao Hong also said these words to me. At that time, I only thought that my love was greater than the sky, and the people I missed in my youth would never come back. But now I don't think so. Only after experiencing it myself can I truly understand that Lao Hong really has my best interests at heart. My nose was sore, and I was very touched. "Okay, teacher, I know I was wrong." Lao Hong nodded in satisfaction. Then, he turned to the other side. "And you, why have you been picking a fight with Heat Songwei recently? You've been chasing after him and hitting him all day long." "Who was he hitting?" "Heat Songwei." Only then did I notice that there was another person standing on the other side of the teacher's office. That teenager had a tall and straight figure. His baseball uniform was torn with a long gash. He was holding a school bag in one hand, and there was a wound on his forehead. He was like a defeated wild beast, standing quietly in the corner. After a while, I remembered his name, Qin Jiashu. Qin Jiashu suddenly looked up at me, and I unexpectedly fell into those dark eyes. Qin Jiashu was a very special presence in the class. He had a liberal personality, but he was tall, straight, and handsome. He was fierce and ruthless when fighting, simply the standard male protagonist in a campus romance novel. However, although there were countless girls who adored him, no one dared to confess to him because there had always been rumors that Qin Jiashu's father had a mental illness and had killed his mother with his own hands. One day, the desperate Qin Jiashu carried his mother, who was covered in blood, around seeking help. Despite all his efforts, he couldn't save his mother's life. When this matter spread, it caused a huge stir. Everyone thought that Qin Jiashu might have inherited his father's mental illness, and his love for fighting seemed to be a traceable violent tendency. If someone got too close to Qin Jiashu, it might very well mean facing the same fate as his mother. So, everyone was willing to be polite to Qin Jiashu on the surface, but it was only limited to being polite. The classmates were afraid of him, intimidated by him, and didn't want to get close to him. Even more, behind his back, his pitiful life experience sometimes became the topic of conversation among everyone. Chin Jiashu had never explained anything either in my memory. Chin Jiashu and I didn't have much interaction, and I couldn't remember any contact between him and He Tsungwei. He deserves to die. The teenager in the corner spoke in a gloomy tone. He expressionlessly stretched out one hand and wiped the wound on the corner of his mouth. Lao Hong was drinking water and directly spat it out. The words from Chin Jiashu were quite terrifying, and even the other teachers in the office were startled. Ahem. Don't say angry words. You have some minor fights among classmates, and I won't report it to the school, but next time, even if you fight, don't hurt yourself or your classmates. Until Lao Hong finished his lecture, Chin Jiashu and I left one after another, preparing to go back to class, but just as we were going down the stairs, Chin Jiashu suddenly stopped. I didn't stop in time and bumped hard into his back. I rubbed my nose, and tears welled up in my eyes from the pain. Are you crying? Probably not expecting me to look like this, Chin Jiashu was a bit at a loss. Why did you hit He Tsungwei? I didn't answer but asked while covering my nose. So, did you cry because of him? Even standing on a higher step, Chin Jiashu was still half a head taller than me. He looked down at me with lowered eyebrows, and his expression was full of mockery. No, I shook my head. Well done, take me with you next time. I winked at him and gave him a thumbs up. This time, it was Chin Jiashu's turn to be stunned. 3. I lowered my head and looked at Chin Jiashu's injured fist. The joints there were already red and swollen. Does it hurt? I asked softly. In front of me, he moved his lips, and his eyes were stubborn. No, how could it not hurt? Although I didn't know what it was like to hit someone, no one knew better than me what it was like to be beaten. No matter how tough a person's bones were, at the moment of falling to the ground, the brain would have a momentary halt. It was as if the whole body was briefly pressed with the space bar. When He Tsungwei hit me, this feeling would be intertwined with fear, and over time, it would slowly be branded deep in my memory. I couldn't help but hold my breath. Then did you win the fight? I asked again. I pinned him next to the urinal in the boys' restroom. He was more seriously injured than me. Standing on the stairs, I suddenly laughed, and a sense of pleasure welled up in my heart. It was as if I was seeing that scene unfold before my eyes. Lu Yining, what are you laughing at? Chin Jiashu frowned slightly. Of course, he wouldn't understand that I was laughing at He Tsungwei, who had always regarded himself as the favored one of heaven. In this second chance, his high school life that was surrounded by admiration actually left such a vivid mark. Chin Jiashu, well done, you have to win every time in the future. I was just cheering, but as soon as the words left my mouth, a figure slowly walked up from below the stairs. He Tsungwei stopped in his tracks. His face was full of uncertainty, and it was obvious that he had heard the conversation between me and Chin Jiashu just now. I wasn't sure what he had heard, however. This time, I was truly meeting the 18-year-old He Tsungwei again. The memories in my mind were like the pages of a book, being blown by the wind and stopping at the year when I loved He Tsungwei the most. I had done a lot of stupid things. For example, I requested a love song for him at the broadcasting station and finally high-profilely attached my own name, making the whole school know about it. I also once blocked He Tsungwei in the corner of the basketball court, stood on tiptoe, and gave him my first kiss amid the jeers of the crowd. He Tsungwei gradually blushed. I couldn't tell whether the expression on his face was anger or excitement. I only remembered that He Tsungwei desperately wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. And finally, his face changed, and he rushed towards the restroom. His basketball team teammates almost laughed themselves to death, saying that He Tsungwei must have been made to vomit by my kiss. At that time, I was not afraid at all, thinking that everyone's ridicule would only make me move forward more bravely. He Tsungwei was originally the school heartthrob, and such a title made the story between us more spreadable. I recklessly announced my love for him to the whole world at that time. In the face of my repeated confessions, the expression on He Tsungwei's face was exactly the same as it was now. The two faces of He Tsungwei overlapped across time and space, and it seemed that nothing had changed. He still looked so impatient with me. After experiencing a long and painful married life, standing in front of him again, all I felt was fear. I was a bit uneasy and instinctively tightened my grip on Chin Jiashu's arm, for my such action made both Chin Jiashu and He Tsungwei stunned for a moment. What are you two doing here instead of going back to class? He Tsungwei's tone was full of questioning. As the monitor, it was only natural for him to ask about attendance. Hearing this familiar voice, in the past, I would have been overjoyed, but now, I didn't even dare to meet his eyes, and my body was slightly trembling. It turned out that I had not only lost the ability to love someone, it seemed that I couldn't get along with He Tsungwei calmly anymore either. I tried my best to make my voice sound steady. We were just about to go back. You too. He Tsungwei raised his head, and his gaze lingered on the hand where I was holding Chin Jiashu's arm. Lu Yining, you've been acting strange since just now. why did you suddenly shout my name during the self-study class just now? Hee Sung-wei paused, and there was an inquiring tone in his voice. Are you okay? For a moment, I didn't know how to explain, and sweat broke out on my forehead the more I was questioned like this. The more I wanted to escape. I didn't know if Chin Jiashu sensed my nervousness. He moved his body and completely stood between me and Hee Sung-wei, blocking that inquiring gaze. She's fine. Just now in the office, Lu Yining promised Lao Hong that she would concentrate and study hard. From now on, you should stay away from her, Chin Jiashu said coldly. Hee Sung-wei's eyes changed color, and his tone was unfriendly. What do you mean by that? Do I need to make it clearer? The mocking look on Chin Jiashu's face gradually deepened. What I mean is, get lost, as far away as possible, even if it means dropping out of school or moving away. You'd better disappear completely from this world. Hee Sung-wei was completely enraged. I said, Chin Jiashu, I don't think I've ever offended you, right? What do you mean by always speaking as if you want me to die? My tolerance also has a limit. I hope you speak more politely. The matter between me and Lu Yining doesn't need your interference. I know what I'm doing, and you should make it clear that it's Lu Yining who likes me. It's not that I'm chasing after her. At the end, as if showing off his spoils of war, Hee Sung-wei took a step forward and grabbed my arm. He seemed a bit unhappy and wanted to regain the upper hand in this way. Lu Yining, the class time is coming soon. It's still not too late for you to go back with me now. Don't hang out with such a bad student. I knew that Hee Sung-wei must have thought that I would go with him. The previous Lu Yining was indeed like a dog that was willing to wag its tail at Hee Sung-wei even without a bone, but now, in front of me, on one side was Hee Sung-wei's outstretched hand, on the other side, it was Chin Jiashu's torn baseball uniform. I resolutely tightened my grip on the corner of my clothes, and my feet seemed to be rooted to the ground, not moving at all. 5. I held back my nausea and said, I have legs and can walk by myself. You don't need to worry about it. These words were like a dagger, piercing through Hee Sung-wei's confident mask. Even when I walked into the classroom side by side with Chin Jiashu later and passed by Hee Sung-wei's desk, he was still looking at me with a bit of surprise. I was very different from before. Hee Sung-wei must also be unable to figure out what made me the obsequious one. Wake up. Did he really love me? With this second chance, I saw clearly the heart of the 18-year-old Hee Sung-wei. This wasn't love. He was just used to being looked up to with such adoring eyes by me. Once he lost someone like me who looked up to him, certain things would no longer have meaning. After all, this clown, could still find some amusement in my spare time, so that's why he had that reaction when I confessed to Hee Sung-wei for the last time. If you love someone, you can feel the most passionate resonance of the heart in the first moment. Love isn't about sacrificing oneself meaninglessly over a huge amount of time, adding one's own tears and the self-esteem that has been exhausted, and humbly exchanging for it. The person you love must also love you equally. Unfortunately, I had to pay with my life to understand this truth. Biting the tip of my pen, I searched through my memories and couldn't remember this scene on the stairs at all. Could it be that there was something wrong with my previous memories? I turned my head and secretly looked at Chin Jiashu, who was sitting in the corner of the last row at this moment. He was sleeping with one arm pillowed under his head and his eyes closed. He had a tall and straight nose bridge. His lips were slightly pursed, giving off a somewhat gentle aura. He was completely different from the Chin Jiashu who could be deadly when fighting. Chin Jiashu, what kind of person was he exactly? I knew nothing about the answer to this question. I didn't know Chin Jiashu. To me, who had been reborn, he was like a blank sheet of paper. Just then, Hee Sung-wei, who was sitting in front of me, suddenly turned around. He said to me in a low voice, "Shall we talk after class?" I pretended not to hear him. After class, I grabbed my good friend and rushed to the school's convenience store. Only when I held the cup of milk tea that I missed the most in the depths of my memory did I finally feel a trace of joy in my heart. This was the most wonderful memory that should have been had in high school. Good friends who played and fooled around, the snacks I liked the most, the endless examination papers, the concerned words of the homeroom teacher, and the seemingly bright and promising future. I stood at the door of the convenience store, a bit lost in thought. It turned out that these were the most memorable parts of my youth. 6. Obviously, Hee Sung-wei didn't let me go. He waited at the corner of the teaching building. When he saw me appear, he immediately came up to me. "Stay away from Chin Jiashu. What kind of good person do you think he is? He's very dangerous." Hee Sung-wei was a bit anxious. People who didn't know the situation might have thought he cared a lot about me. My thoughts couldn't help but drift back. After we graduated from university, we quickly got our marriage certificate and held a wedding under the blessings and witness of our relatives and friends. This seemed like a happy beginning. In fact, from that day on, I stepped into a nightmare like an abyss. At first, Hee Sung-wei would occasionally say some rather harsh words to me. I didn't know why he would suddenly lose his temper. Every time I asked him, he would keep silent. However, Hee Sung-wei was a very macho man and would never take the initiative to tell me what happened outside. So at the beginning, when he lost control of his emotions, I just thought he was in a bad mood and often chose to endure it silently. I thought that changing from lovers to husband and wife always required more running in and tolerance. Perhaps with a little more time, we could get more used to married life. I never expected that later, Hee Sung-wei completely changed into a different person. Whenever he was under great pressure, he would be moody. At the mildest, he would abuse me verbally, and at the worst, he would beat and kick me. The most serious time, I was dragged by my hair by him and beaten from home to the elevator entrance. I was slapped until my face was black and blue, and I could hardly even lift a finger. Every time after beating me, Hee Sung-wei would seem to wake up completely and hug me while crying bitterly. He said he didn't know what was wrong with him. Every time he lost control, he couldn't help hurting the people around him, and I was the only one around him. He was willing to kneel down for me, slap himself in the face, and even bang his head against the wall. From this time on, I had already sensed that something was wrong. I wanted to stop this terrible marriage, but it was too late. I had already lost all the initiative. Hee Sung-wei tore up my divorce agreement time and time again, and his attitude towards me became even worse. He even used some means that I couldn't accept to humiliate me. Don't forget how you clung to me back then. These are all your obligations as a wife. Ening, I love you so much. In such repeated and confused words, he was gradually tearing my self-esteem apart bit by bit. I had long since extinguished the last glimmer of hope until I died. 7. I asked Hee Sung-wei, Chin Jiashu isn't a good person. Why? Because his father was a psychopath and killed his mother. Chin Jiashu is the child of a murderer. Hee Sung-wei paused and then said, they say the offspring of a mouse can dig holes if you get too close to him. What kind of good ending do you think you'll have? I took a step forward, getting very close to Hee Sung-wei. The faint smell of laundry powder on him lingered in my nose. In the past, such a scene would have made me wake up with a smile in my dreams, but now, I felt like vomiting. Then what about getting close to you? I smiled and said, will I die? His face changed, as if he was offended and extremely unhappy. What are you talking nonsense about, Lu Ening? I'm caring about you. Don't take my kindness for ill will. Hee Sung-wei took a deep breath, as if trying his best to hold back something. I know that my constant rejection of your confessions may have made you feel embarrassed. I interrupted him. I don't like you anymore. The atmosphere turned awkward, and there was a momentary stagnation for a few seconds. You, what did you say? Hee Sung-wei couldn't believe my words and slowly widened his eyes. I gripped the milk tea tightly and said word by word. I said, I don't like you anymore. We shouldn't have any more contact with each other in the future. After saying these words, somehow, the huge stone that had been weighing on my heart seemed to have finally landed. It was as if I had finally given a clean and straightforward account to that dead self. It was also like finally putting an end to that failed marriage with my own hands. Hee Sung-wei's expression was stunned. Just like when he heard that I was about to withdraw from this one-sided love after the college entrance examination. Lu Ening, what trick are you playing on me this time? Are you using retreat as an advance? I'm not falling for this. If you don't fall for this, then go to hell. Sure enough, this person still believed that this was another way for me to attract his attention. I slowly opened my mouth and said, remember, in the next few years, there will be a popular internet term called ordinary but competent man. It's generally used to describe an ordinary yet competent boy, which is quite similar to your current state. Hee Sung-wei said unhappily, do you mean that I'm ordinary? I increasingly felt that I was blind back then. I didn't want to continue this meaningless conversation, so I turned around and left, but I didn't expect that Chin Jiashu had been behind me all along. I blinked. Chin Jiashu's bright black eyes were fixed on me, with a hidden smile. He took the cold cup of Xiangpiopio milk tea from my hand with one hand and took out a cup of warmed milk tea from his baseball uniform with the other hand. Chin Jiashu handed me the warm cup of milk tea. He seemed to be in a very good mood. When he looked at Hee Sung-wei over my shoulder, his eyes were provocative, but he gently curved his lips. The young man's expression was unrestrained and confident, as if he had just won a silent victory. In my puzzled gaze, Chin Jiashu lowered his head and took a sip from the straw of the cold milk tea. My heart stirred slightly, but I had clearly drunk from this cup just now. 8. Seeing Chin Jiashu come over, looking like he was backing me up, Hee Sung-wei left in a huff. Before leaving, his eyes swept heavily over the cup of milk tea in my hand. I was a bit touched and also found it a bit funny. Why did Chin Jiashu seem like Hee Sung-wei's sworn enemy? Every time, Hee Sung-wei seemed to care a lot about him. If I hadn't returned to the age of 18, perhaps Chin Jiashu and I, after this intersection in high school, would have embarked on completely different life tracks, and the chances of us meeting would have been very few. After getting into university and falling in love with Hee Seung-wei, the focus of my life gradually shifted to Hee Seung-wei. In this way, I gradually lost touch with my old classmates in the class group. I would occasionally glance at the list and see Chin Jiashu's name. His black profile picture, which had remained unchanged for years, never said anything, as if he were a silent sculpture. I had also vaguely heard that Chin Jiashu was the one who had the worst life among our classmates. After graduating from high school, he didn't get into university and became a car mechanic. After that, no one knew where he was. This was all the information about Chin Jiashu that I could find after searching through my memories. Chin Jiashu drank up the cold cup of milk tea in one gulp. Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar features of this young man, I had an indescribable feeling in my heart. Hey, Chin Jiashu, how did you know that I like taro-flavored milk tea? Choked by my sudden question, Chin Jiashu suddenly coughed, and even the tips of his ears turned slightly red. It was clearly the coldest time of winter, and he was wearing a very thin baseball uniform. But the milk tea in my hand was warm because of his body temperature. Chin Jiashu was just about to speak, but I interrupted him. Anyway, thank you. What did you say? Chin Jiashu seemed not to have heard clearly and leaned his head closer. I said thank you for always appearing by my side in time. Chin Jiashu was 185 meters tall. I thought it was because of the height difference that he couldn't hear clearly, so I stood on tiptoe, leaned closer to him, and was about to thank him loudly again, but the next second, with a mischievous smile on his face, Chin Jiashu touched my head that I had leaned in. Lu Yining, if you really want to thank me, why don't you teach me how to study? When he touched my head, his movement was very gentle, and his eyes were filled with doting. I blinked. This small action was like a feather gently brushing against my heart. Obviously, this gloomy young man in the eyes of others seemed fierce and unruly, but when he faced me, he was always very cautious. I agreed to Chin Jiashu's request. Back then, I was the top scorer in liberal arts at school. For Hee Seung-wei, I gave up my favorite school and major and settled for an ordinary first-class university this time. If possible, I want to leave more love for myself and my own dreams. Hearing that I agreed so readily, Chin Jiashu asked, "Aren't you afraid of me?" I was a bit confused. You also have 2 eyes and 1 nose. What should I be afraid of? Chin Jiashu continued, just like everyone else. Are you afraid of me because I'm the child of a mentally ill person, afraid that one day I will lose control of my emotions and do terrible things to you? I shook my head. Chin Jiashu, does it matter how I think about this? The most important thing should be your own heart. Don't listen to the voices outside. Whether it was before or now, I have never had any prejudice against Chin Jiashu because of his family background for a single moment. We are all born this way, and we can't choose our original families. Who isn't an ordinary person with their own flaws? My father didn't kill my mother. Chin Jiashu stared at me, somewhat moved. After a while, he retracted his gaze and said lightly, I've never told anyone about this. You're the first. In a daze, I was actually a bit surprised. For so many years, he had been living under the label of the child of a murderer and had been isolated by everyone to some extent. Chin Jiashu had never explained this matter to anyone, but only when facing me was he willing to pour out his secrets word by word. 9. I applied to Lao Hong to become deskmates with Chin Jiashu. There had always been a tradition of mutual assistance study groups in the class. Lao Hong was very happy to see that I was focusing on my studies, and he was also glad that Chin Jiashu had finally seen the light. Now, Chin Jiashu was my new study partner. I asked him to sign a written agreement with me that he wouldn't fight easily in the future, and Chin Jiashu obediently did as I said. After becoming deskmates with him, I realized that Chin Jiashu was a person who would be very serious once he made up his mind to do something. When he said, please teach me how to study, he wasn't just saying it for fun. Chin Jiashu was truly taking a very serious attitude to treat the matter of studying again every morning during the self-study class. His figure would be the first to appear in the classroom, and he would also help Lao Hong clean the blackboard spotlessly. I knew that Lao Hong had a very serious case of arthritis. Chin Jiashu seemed to be grumpy towards the whole world, but in fact, he had a very kind heart. Even though the whole class thought he was terrible, he still chose to be a very good person. Everything was going smoothly, but Hee Seung-wei would always deliberately or inadvertently show up in front of me. Especially after my relationship with Chin Jiashu improved. I thought I had made it clear enough to Hee Seung-wei, but I didn't expect that my indifference made Hee Seung-wei go even further. One day, as I passed by the basketball court and was thinking about creating questions for Chin Jiashu, the boys inside suddenly whistled at me. I turned my head and saw Hee Seung-wei's friends wearing meaningful smiles. Sister-in-law, where are you going? I immediately felt nauseous and had a physical aversion to this address. I've already made it clear to Hee Seung-wei that I won't pester him anymore in the future. Since he doesn't like me, there's no need for you to make jokes about us anymore. It's disrespectful to everyone. I confronted them with a serious face until Hee Seung-wei came out dribbling a basketball. Recently, you've been getting so close to Chen Jiaxu that it's making me lose focus in class. You were the one who provoked me first, and now you want to stop it, I think. I kind of like you, Lu Yining. I'm willing to give it a try with you, as long as you stay away from that psycho. 10. This person was really, as arrogant as ever. The last sentence annoyed me. Watch your mouth. Who's a psycho? He has a name. His name is Chen Jiaxu. Also, I did like you before, but so what? Does your name have to be engraved in my DNA? If I'm not with you, do I have to erect a monument for myself? Have some self-respect. Don't make me feel sick every time I think of you. If possible, I would rather this domestic abuser in front of me die. After all, he had done such cruel things to me. Why should it all be written off like this? But one can't just immerse oneself in hatred. I'm very lucky to have been given a chance at a new life, so I shouldn't waste my time hating Hee Seung-wei. He's already a piece of trash, and I will definitely not throw my brand new life into the trash can again. My words irritated Hee Seung-wei, and his face immediately fell. He slammed the basketball heavily at my feet. Bang! The sound of it hitting the ground was so loud that I was startled and stepped back. Hee Seung-wei strode forward and punched the wire mesh next to me. The distorted and familiar face in front of me once again brought me that suffocating feeling of being on the verge of death. Immediately after, Hee Seung-wei reached out and forcefully grabbed my neck. This was the first time he had torn off the so-called school heartthrob mask and exposed his true and ugly face. Brother Tsung. The group of his friends beside him also panicked and quickly rushed over, trying to pull his hand away. The fear in my heart welled up again, and I felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. But this time, I still tried my best to keep my eyes wide open and make myself look clearly at Hee Seung-wei's face. Hee Seung-wei didn't stop. Instead, he increased the strength. From an angle that only I could see, his expression was gloomy and terrifying. The air in my abdomen was almost being taken away. I opened my mouth and, with all my strength, bit down hard on his hand. Hee Seung-wei shook off his hand in pain, and I finally got a chance to catch my breath. People who get close to a psycho are really unlucky, I heard Hee Seung-wei say extremely contemptuously. At this moment, he had become the Hee Seung-wei who had beaten and kicked me again. All the nightmares broke free from the cage of my memories once more. Until Hee Seung-wei swaggered away, I hugged my arms, squatted on the ground, and gasped for breath. When I summoned up the courage to bite him just now, there was anger in my emotions, as well as fear that I forcefully suppressed. It turned out that after being beaten for a long time, when I returned to a familiar situation again, there would still be a physiological reflex. My tears still involuntarily rolled down. More and more classmates stopped to watch, and a sense of helplessness gradually surrounded me. Those scenes of being loudly humiliated by Hee Seung-wei with words, and being beaten to a pulp on the ground by him, which had attracted the neighbors to come out and watch the excitement, those scenes that I had scarcely forgotten, all came back to my mind. Would anyone come to save me, just like those many times I had silently cried out in the abyss before? In the end, I still shattered myself. What are you looking at? Get lost, all of you. It was Chen Jiaxu's voice. Through my tears, I saw him like a fierce beast, roaring and driving away the surrounding classmates. He pushed through the sparse crowd and rushed straight towards me. He held me in his arms, and the panicked expression on his face was clearly visible in such a warm and clean embrace. I hugged Chen Jiaxu tightly and finally cried out loud. I really needed such an embrace. Ning Bao, it's me. I should be damned. I came too late. I should have told you earlier. Don't like Hee Seung-wei. You will die. Please don't cry with me here. It doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter if you don't want to face it. I can stand in front of you, and I will stand in front of you. Chen Jiaxu's hands trembled as he gently stroked the red marks on my neck that had been grabbed. His expression was filled with heartache. There was a hint of scarlet in his eyes, but he held my cold hand. Don't look, don't listen, and don't be afraid, just like you told me. This time, even if I die, I won't let anyone hurt you again. 11. I went back to the classroom with Chen Jiaxu. It happened to be the break time, and the classmates in the class were chatting and laughing in their seats. When they saw me appear at the door, everyone shut their mouths as if they had a great deal of tacit agreement. Some people looked at Hee Seung-wei, who was pretending to be calm, but everyone knew in their hearts what had happened at the basketball court just now. I walked back to my seat, and Chen Jiaxu directly stood on the podium. He was still wearing that baseball uniform, but his eyes were staring straight at Hee Seung-wei. Just now, There were not a few classmates who saw Hee Seung-wei take action beside the basketball court. Some things, let's talk about them openly today. All along, everyone has had some misunderstandings about me. My father was never a murderer. He was a great policeman and loved my mother very much during his lifetime. He died at the border, not in a cold prison. Hee Seung-wei, when you imposed your own story on me at that time, you made it sound quite believable. Do you want to tell us about your own family situation yourself, or should I tell it for you? The whole class was already silent, and everyone seemed to understand something. Some classmates in the class had already quietly informed Lao Hong, but Hee Seung-wei suddenly stood up violently from his seat, his face ferocious, and rushed to the podium, grabbing Chen Jiashu's collar. Chen Jiashu was half a head taller than Hee Seung-wei. He leaned close to Hee Seung-wei's ear and didn't know what he said then. Hee Seung-wei suddenly went crazy and stabbed at Chen Jiashu with something in his hand. Chen Jiashu had no intention of fighting back at all, nor did he make any evasive moves until the classmates saw clearly that it was a utility knife that had deeply pierced into Chen Jiashu's shoulder. Only then did everyone wake up from their shock, regain their senses, and rushed up to pull them apart all at once. Hee Seung-wei was twisted by the arms and pressed to the ground on the other side, waiting for the teacher to come back and deal with it. I rushed towards Chen Jiashu and checked his wound. I shouted anxiously, "Are you stupid? You didn't even try to dodge." Even though I scolded him, there was still a bright light in Chen Jiashu's eyes, and there was an unquenchable smile. "I promised you that I won't fight again in the future, and I will keep my word, so I won't fight back today. Am I a good boy?" Ning Bao. Chen Jiashu stretched out his hand, trying to hold my finger. My heart couldn't help but beat faster because of the words Ning Bao. This was an intimate name that only my family members knew. When it came out of Chen Jiashu's mouth, it always carried a bit of an indescribable intimacy. I gave Chen Jiashu a glare. I thought that he still had a lot of things to explain to me. In the midst of the chaos, Chen Jiashu leaned close to me and said in a low voice, "Lu Yining, it's so good to meet you again, the end." Extra Chapter 1. Chen Jiashu's perspective. The position where the utility knife stabbed wasn't very deep, but Lao Hong still insisted that Chen Jiashu stay in the hospital ward and finish the full set of examinations before leaving. He originally wanted to go back to class, but both Lao Hong and Lu Yining insisted, so he could only stay lying on the hospital bed. Chen Jiashu's thoughts returned to the previous life when Chen Jiashu was still in high school. He would be woken up by the sounds of beating and scolding from the next door every night. He only knew that his neighbor was a boy of about the same age as himself and seemed to be from the same school. It happened that the male owner next door had a mental illness. Every time he had an attack, he would almost beat his wife to death. His mother had privately called the police, but when the police came, all they could do was mediate until one day, the boy next door got into a fight with his father, and the two of them fell out of the room together. Even though the boy was covered in blood, Chen Jiashu could tell that he was Hee Seung-wei from his class, that outstanding student in the school, who was completely different from him. The next day, Hee Seung-wei stood in front of him arrogantly, and his embarrassed appearance was completely gone. "You won't tell anyone, right? I'm the president of the student union. I know a lot of people in the school and have a good relationship with them. If you're willing to keep it a secret, you can ask me for help whenever you need it at school." Although Chen Jiashu didn't have the habit of gossiping behind others' backs, Hee Seung-wei's superior tone made him a bit uncomfortable. From that sentence on, he inexplicably disliked this so-called school heartthrob. So, at that time, Chen Jiashu didn't show Hee Seung-wei a good face. He neither agreed nor refused. After all, in Chen Jiashu's heart, this matter had nothing to do with him at all, and he disdained to spread such gossip until one night, the escaped criminal that his father had once participated in capturing, the one who got away, somehow found his home. The criminal had come for revenge on purpose, after stabbing a few times. In the dark, he fled, but in that winter, due to the untimely rescue, Chen Jiashu lost his mother forever. In this world, only Chen Jiashu was left. No one would love him anymore. Just at this time, someone in the school started spreading the rumor that there was a little psycho in class 5. When the classmates weren't sure who it was, Hee Seung-wei took the initiative and vividly fabricated the story of Chen Jiashu carrying his mother to find a hospital on a winter night. The whole class believed it to be true, and the rumor spread more and more widely. After all, Hee Seung-wei was the president of the student union. He was good-looking and had good grades. No one knew that he imposed his own family background on Chen Jiashu just to cover up the fact that his father was a mental patient. But Chen Jiashu had nothing left. He didn't care even more about what others said and became even more self-destructive. He began to completely give up his studies and throw himself into childish violent conflicts. As if this could numb his extremely painful feelings of longing, the day he met Lu Yining was at the door of the convenience store, holding a cup of taro-flavored milk tea. She said indignantly, "You can't say that about Qin Jiaxu. He didn't do anything wrong." In front of her were several boys in the class who liked to cause trouble the most. He has no choice about what kind of family he was born into. Even if his father is sick, he must be very sad, right? We are his classmates. If Qin Jiaxu hears us saying these things behind his back, how will he feel? Even though so many people in the class firmly believed that Qin Jiaxu would definitely kill someone, Lu Yining still spoke up loudly for Qin Jiaxu. She believed in him. Qin Jiaxu began to pay attention to Lu Yining, and he found it more and more difficult to take his eyes off her every day. Qin Jiaxu knew exactly what kind of small hair ties Lu Yining had on her hands when she collected the exercise books. Sometimes it was a pink heart-shaped one, and sometimes it was a star Dai Lu, a cartoon character. Later, once during the whole class's nap, Lu Yining's hair tie fell to the ground. Qin Jiaxu picked it up as if he had found a treasure and secretly put the pink heart-shaped hair tie on his own hand. When he skipped class, he held up the pink heart on his wrist and asked his good friend Qin Jinian, "You tell me, is this really considered liking?" Qin Jinian was also in the same trouble as him. Secretly in love with the class monitor. A little girl named Xu Sui. I don't know either. Every time I see her, I just think she's so cute. Yeah, that's right, but his Ningbao must be even cuter. Every time he saw Lu Yining, Qin Jiaxu thought she was really beautiful. Her long eyelashes were like a small fan, and her small lips must be very soft to kiss. She could always make his heart melt involuntarily. Qin Jiaxu also heard that when Lu Yining's parents came to pick her up, they would dote on her and call her Ningbao. How could someone have such a cute pet name, Ningbao? Ningbao, he always muttered it, and it was the most beautiful incantation between his lips and teeth until he watched Lu Yining fall in love with He Tsongwei, making a big fuss about it and making it known to everyone. But she didn't seem to be afraid at all and still looked like she was moving forward bravely. He Tsongwei clearly didn't care about her at all, just calling her over and sending her away as he pleased. It was a pity that she didn't like him. Later, Qin Jiaxu muddled through high school. Because he didn't perform well in the college entrance examination, he didn't get into his ideal university. He originally wanted to repeat his senior year, but he felt that life had no meaning at all. For such a life with nothing, what was the use of working hard? Even so, he still had a hidden intention and moved to the city where He Tsongwei and Lu Yining were. Because he didn't have a degree, he could only find a job as a car mechanic. The place where Qin Jiaxu worked was just below Lu Yining's company. He didn't want to disturb her. And even less did he want to be regarded as a pervert. He just wanted to be able to watch Lu Yining silently. Only when he knew that she was doing well could he feel at ease. In the WeChat group of old classmates, they would occasionally chat. One day, Qin Jiaxu saw Lu Yining happily sending out the electronic wedding invitations of her and He Tsongwei. Other classmates congratulated them one after another, and the emoticons kept flooding the screen. In the wedding photo, Lu Yining was smiling brightly. She must be the most beautiful bride in the world. Qin Jiaxu silently turned off his phone and lay in the dormitory that was only a few square meters. The smell of engine oil filled his nose, a sour feeling filled his eyes, and a secret pain welled up in his heart. This must be the end of him and Lu Yining, right? His love would never have a chance to be expressed in this lifetime. He heard the news of Lu Yining's death through this classmate group that he almost quit. Qin Jiaxu accidentally learned that when Lu Yining died, there was hardly a single piece of uninjured skin on her body, and it was all covered in bruises. That overwhelming anger engulfed him, especially after seeing that He Tsongwei quickly got a new girlfriend. The last bit of Qin Jiaxu's reason was destroyed. His girl was asleep forever, but the devil was still at large. He didn't know why, but he couldn't sleep day or night because as soon as he closed his eyes, he would see Lu Yining's red eyes from crying, appearing over and over again. On the 7th day after Lu Yining's death, Qin Jiaxu carefully planned and poured gasoline on He Tsongwei. Then, he lit the lighter. He Tsongwei's hateful face finally gradually disappeared in the flames. At this moment, Qin Jiaxu's heart was filled with a long-lost peace. If possible, he hoped that He Tsongwei would go to hell. Qin Jiaxu took out that long-lost high school graduation photo. In the photo, he had managed to squeeze next to Lu Yining with great effort. That day, Lu Yining had a high ponytail and wore a light makeup. He was wearing her hair tie on his hand. At the moment the shutter was pressed, he slightly turned his head towards her. This was the screensaver of Qin Jiaxu's phone and also the only group photo of them in all these years. Qin Jiaxu kissed the photo, and then he jumped off from the highest point of the city. But the gears of fate turned again. Qin Jiaxu never expected that he would actually return to the age of 18. This was simply the greatest gift from heaven. That was the year when Lu Yining loved He Tsongwei the most, And also the year when Chen Jiaxu loved Lu Yining the most. However, from now on, Chen Jiaxu would love Lu Yining every year. Extra Chapter 2. On the day when the college entrance examination results were announced, Chen Jiaxu went missing. Lu Yining was extremely anxious. She had already checked the results. This time, not only did she get into her dream school, but she was also successfully admitted to her desired major. She wanted to share this good news with Chen Jiaxu the moment she found out. But someone please tell her, why was Chen Jiaxu gone? She ran to Chen Jiaxu's house out of breath. Chen Jiaxu's aunt said that she hadn't seen the boy since the results were released today. Could it be that his grades were not good, and he was hiding and refusing to see her? What a fool. Although she and Chen Jiaxu had agreed that he must get into a school in the same city as hers before she would accept his confession, in fact, even if he didn't, she would still have accepted him. After He Tsungwei was expelled from school, the police took him away, and his whereabouts remained unknown ever since. That devil would pay the price under the sanction of the law. Under Lu Yining's questioning, Chen Jiaxu confessed everything, knowing that confession would lead to leniency and resistance would lead to severity. Only then did they realize that both of them had been given a second chance at life. Lu Yining alternated between crying and laughing. She asked him if it hurt when he jumped off the building. Chen Jiaxu said it hurt quite a lot, so he had beaten He Tsungwei every time he saw him afterwards. Even Lao Hong couldn't stand it anymore. There were row upon row of desks in front of me, and around me were all the familiar faces from my high school days. Suddenly, Lu Yining's phone received a WeChat message, and she quickly looked at her phone. It was a screenshot of Chen Jiaxu's grades. There was also a passionate sentence, "Dear girlfriend, I made the cut." It was as if fireworks were exploding above her head, and Lu Yining was so happy that she let out a scream. Ning Bao. Chen Jiaxu's voice came from behind her. Lu Yining turned around in surprise and saw Chen Jiaxu holding a large bouquet of flowers, sweating profusely, and in his hand was a pink hair tie that she had been unable to find before. Lu Yining ran over with a smile and hugged him. My mom said, "Don't eat out tonight, come to my house." Before Lu Yining could finish her sentence, her words were lost in Chen Jiaxu's kiss. Just as he had imagined, it felt so good to kiss her.